the 25th anniversary of American Psycho. Now,
do we know when the exact anniversary is?
I think it is this month.
Oh, great.
I'm pretty sure it is this month. Charlie, do you want doing a quick fact check for us? But I'm pretty sure it is this month. But yeah, this has been one in the plan for quite some time. This was one of the OG original ideas that we had that we wanted to talk about when we first came out with this concept. So to be, what is this, episode 14 now? The 14th episode in. It's quite nice to get to it. And we've all rewatched it.
Breaking update. 21st of April 2000.
Oh, so it is in about a week and a half. Week and a half. There we go. So
it's almost like we planned it.
It's almost like we planned it. But yeah, this is a film we've all recently rewatched it. It's one of those films that, again, I feel like the past few films we talked about, there have been films that pretty much everybody knows about. They might not have seen it, but everybody knows about it. They know American Psycho. They know Christian Bale. Would you say a performance that probably set him onto the road of getting bigger roles? Because after this, I think the next notable one was The Machinist, but I feel that was still quite a low-key independent film. But again, we'll probably get into it. His body transformations in that. And then he was Batman after The Machinist. So,
well, just to carry on from what you said about being films that everybody knows.
Yes.
A reoccurring thing when we've been gearing up to do these episodes is that I've said to you guys, either I'm anxious for one of two reasons. It's either I don't know if I will have enough to say or contribute to the conversation about the film we're talking about, or on the flip side, this film has been talked to death. Like, what more could we possibly say?
Yeah.
And I think that the American Psycho adaptation is definitely a film that runs the risk of being talked to death. Hopefully, we'll put enough of an entertaining spin on it that we will.
I think us three, I feel, especially at this point now, in the amount of episodes we've done, we've got a flow, and I feel like we might not have, like, say, something maybe new to contribute. We might do, but to be honest, I've never really listened to any kind of podcast about American Psycho. This is probably the first time I've really talked or had any kind of look into American Psycho in, like, detail. This would be the first for me. I've never really listened to any podcasts or documentaries on it, to be honest.
That's reassuring, because I was a little bit anxious, and I'd had this conversation with Harry, who can't be with us for scheduling things and stuff. I had this conversation with Harry where I was a little bit anxious, like, what could we contribute to? I don't want to use the word to the discourse, but like, what can we add to the conversation about American Psycho that hasn't already been said? You were talking before we started recording about how it's become this big meme. It's been co-opted by certain people and individuals and ideologies in the last sort of decade on the internet and stuff. So I was worried that we might not have sufficient material to justify making an episode, but I think we will have enough of a laugh between the three of us
and I think
to justify.
And I think it's a film we all enjoy. When it's a film that, even if it's like, so for instance, Mike Madonna or Parasite, like you didn't have a massive interest in it, but me, Charlie, and Harry obviously did, and I feel like if there's at least somebody that loves a film or really enjoys a film, then we do make a really good, a good thing out of it. But to be honest, there are going to be a few things we like, especially I feel like it's kind of, especially really recently with social media, there are some things that Patrick Bateman does in the film that I see on social media now, and it's scary. Like, so we'll get into that. So there's lots to talk about. There's also, we're gonna dabble in the book a little bit, but not too much. Obviously, it was an adaptation of Bret Easton Ellis's book. There's also, because they're remaking American Psycho with Luca, directed by Luca. I can't pronounce his name. Guadagnino.
I have to admit, I've never heard his name pronounced, but call me by your name.
Call me by your name. Suspiria. Challenges this year. Did he also do Queer this year as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
And starring
Austin
Butler as Patrick Bateman. So, it could be a good thing.
Well, it is, as of right now, and this might be incredibly dated even in like a month's time, but as of right now, that hasn't actually been confirmed.
It hasn't, no.
I thought it had been about a year ago, and then I saw a tweet about it the other day saying that Butler was in like final talks to sign or something like that. So I don't know if it has been like officially confirmed or not, but you're saying it hasn't. So
so like obviously things like IMDb, you go on IMDb and it's on no one's kind of like upcoming releases and stuff like that. It's not like say it hasn't been confirmed. So so it's getting a remake. That the actual character played by Christian Bale, Patrick Bateman, that's going to be so hard to kind of. You'd have to do something completely different.
Well, this is what I was gonna. I think we're jumping way ahead of ourselves because we usually have these sort of like speculative or what the future holds types discussions at the end of the episode, and we might go into a bit more detail at the end. But I was going to say, if we discuss this, they are going to have to do something completely different because the three of us have read the book, and aside from a couple of sequences being excised completely, the book and the film are a pretty like for like, one for one adaptation.
Yeah.
I can't really, and it's done so well, I can't really see of any reason to want to remake it.
Yeah.
Me personally.
No,
if someone came to me and said, you're tasked with making a new version of this, I would be stumped as to how to make it original or how to try and surpass this version. So I'd be interested to see.
Well, we'll talk about it later because I have a couple of thoughts on what they could do, but like you say, that's something we'll discuss a bit later. So just a quick synopsis and a little bit of an introduction. So the synopsis that I've got for you this week is: a wealthy New York City investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his co-workers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies. Now released in the year 2000 and based on the book by Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho stars Christian Bale as the psychotic Patrick Bateman. Alongside him are Justin Theroux, Chloe Sevigny, is that how you pronounce her name? She's from
American Horror Story.
Zodiac. The great and an absolute personal favourite of everybody here at TMSP, Willem Dafoe, Reese Witherspoon and Jared Leto, to name but a few. It was made on a budget of only $7 million and grossed $34 million overall. So we go into what we usually do to begin with. We'll talk about kind of like our memories and like kind of our first delve into American Psycho. What was yours, Ollie?
Charlie, do you want to start? Sorry, I always feel like I go
Can
first.
do.
With this
Yeah.
question.
No, that's fine. Yeah, go for it.
I don't want to sound like
I remember seeing the poster in Choices, which was like a blockbuster kind
Choices?
of rip-off. Yeah. And it was the poster of him in the eye mask.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is that? Sort of. And didn't really watch it until it came on TV. And I remember doing the sneaky thing of recording it on a VHS.
Yeah.
And waiting until everyone was out the house to watch it. Watched it, and it's definitely the first film I remember seeing with Christian Bale in it. It just scared the shit out of me. It still does. Yeah, that was the first time I saw it.
What age do you think you were?
Would have been maybe 15. I'd say.
And did it inspire you to immediately go out and read the book, or is that something that you did a lot later?
No, I've only recently read the book.
So if you were 15 at the time, that would have been, 2003, 2004?
About then, yeah.
and then you read the book?
About 2 years ago.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking you borrowed it from Dan?
No.
Really?
No. Yeah, someone stole my copy and I'm really fucking annoyed about it.
My copy is currently with a friend who I lent it to about 3 years ago now, and I'm in no rush to get it back from her. I'm not in a rush to reread it, but yeah.
Oh no, that's my exact same. I lent it to a friend and I have not got it back, and I think it's been probably about 8 years now. That's gone.
So I think I've said this sort of story before. Sorry, I was stuttering a little bit there. My dad is a huge fan of Christian Bale. And when I was younger and we had a bit more free time before my second sister came around and all sorts of things, we would go to the cinema quite a lot. And my dad was one of those guys that would try to see every film that Christian Bale was in. So I have a vivid memory of him taking my sister and I to see Howl's Moving Castle at our local cinema in 2004 because Christian Bale voiced Howl in the Western dub. That's how committed he was to seeing all of, and quite a lot of things like Batman Begins, Terminator Salvation, I would have discovered eventually, because it's all the sort of geeky stuff I was interested in. But again, as a child, my dad was such a fan of Christian Bale that we'd go and see them together. And then when I got older, he introduced me to things like The Machinist. American Psycho was an anomaly in that I said to him one day, and I would have been around similar age, like 13, 14, do you have American Psycho on DVD? Because I assumed that he would, because stuff like The Machinist or whatever, he just had, because he loved Christian Bale, and he didn't. I said, why didn't you have it? And he said, I don't like it. It's not my cup of tea. I watched it in cinemas when it came out. I wasn't a huge fan. So that sort of tempered my expectations a bit, because me and my dad have very similar tastes in films. But I still sought it out anyway, because I was like, I want to make up my own mind. And it was one of those things where it was on Film 4. I recorded it. It was on a weeknight. I recorded it. I think at the time I was worrying that if my mum or dad saw me watching it, they'd be like, you shouldn't be watching that. But I don't really think they would have cared. I was 14, 15 years old. I watched it. I really enjoyed it. And I remember for the sort of weeks afterwards, I was listening to Phil Collins and Huey Lewis and the News in my headphones all the time. And then as I got slightly older, because I was in sixth form at the time, I read the book. My best friend was also reading the book at the same time. And then an ex-girlfriend of mine at the time was also reading the book. So there's quite a few people in my life at that time that were reading the book at the same time as me. And we all sort of shared thoughts and feelings about it. And then around the same time, I met you, Dan, working at the cinema that we worked at. And you had read it or were in the process of reading it. And I loved the book. I haven't reread it since. At some point in this sort of really convoluted timeline that I've just given, I bought it on DVD. I don't know when that was. I was convinced that I'd bought it on Blu-ray or 4K because I went to watch it today, and I was looking for ages on my shelf being like, where's the Blu-ray? Sounds like I never bought it on Blu-ray or 4K, which I'm going to rectify. I'm going to go out and buy it on 4K. So I had to rewatch it on DVD today. But yeah, I watched it on TV after my dad did not recommend it. I really enjoyed it. A few years later, read the book when I was in sixth form, and then met you and found someone that was equally like enthusiastic about such depraved, twisted material. So when did you first watch it, Dan? How old were you?
So I don't think I watched it until I was about, I want to say maybe similar to Charlie, probably about 14, 15. Again, pretty similar to Charlie. I always remember the poster of, obviously, I didn't know it was Christian Bale at the time. The poster, like I said, where he's got no top on, but he's got the blue eye mask, and I just always remember that poster with the white background. I just always remember it. And then I remember seeing, like, I think there used to be a shop where we live in the centre, and it was around the same time there was a Virgin Megastore, Zavvi, but it was a small shop called like Silver Screen. I
remember that.
Yeah, so it was like a little independent DVD, and I remember getting Predator from there, Predator 2 from there, and stuff like that, and I got American Psycho. And I remember and I watched it, and I was expecting it to be scarier to me. I didn't realise it was this type of kind of like satirical dark comedy laced with violence. I wasn't expecting. I was expecting more of a kind of like it sounds mad saying it, but more of a horror film is what I was expecting. However, I did enjoy it. I did really enjoy it. And then again, similar with you, then I picked the book up a few years later, my first year of university. There was where I went to university, there was a HMV near, and HMV just like randomly sell like a random selection of books.
Yeah. And
they always have American Psycho now. Always have it. But I remember, so it was probably about 14 years ago when I picked it up. And it was what I would read to and from. Oh no, so my second year of uni, because I'd start reading it on the tube from where I lived, and then it'd take me about 40 minutes to get to uni, and that was my read every single day. And for those that have read the book, and I think I've said this before, there is a certain scene within the book where there's a depiction of violence that isn't in the film, but it's in the book. I'm not going to describe it here, but I had to stop reading it on the tube because it was making me feel nauseous. And I remember reading this book and thinking that the film is nowhere near doesn't show the violence nowhere near as how it's described in the book.
Yeah.
And watching it again last night, I was rewatching it. I was thinking, like, obviously it's violent.
Yeah.
The violence towards women is horrible, but all of the violence and the blood in that isn't actually as bad as it probably was for its time in 2000. It probably was terrible. Like, it is probably quite a graphic film, but compared to some of the stuff that's released now, I wouldn't say obviously it's not tame, but it's pretty, you know, it's not shown as much as stuff is shown these days now. But yeah, that's kind of like my overview on the film. But yeah, so yeah, saw it, bought on DVD. I do own the 4K with the slipcase with his mask PD thing. I bought that a couple of years ago, and then rewatched it then. It's just an enjoyable film. In a weird way, saying a violent film about a serial killer is enjoyable, it is weirdly enjoyable.
So it seems like we were all like a similar age when we first watched it, which is interesting. It's just a nice observation. So yeah, based off a book by Bret Easton Ellis, the three of us have read the book. Have you read any of his other books?
I've read, is it Glamorra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read that, and I think there's one more I can't remember. I think I've read 3. I can't remember what the other one is, though.
Yeah, so I think he is a gay author, and there is a scene in the film that I think comes, but I'm assuming would come from some experiences he may have had firsthand as a homosexual man living in America, growing up in the 70s, etc., or the 60s or 70s. But yeah, he's got very similar themes in his other books, explorations of like drug abuse, self-violence, self-harm, questioning reality, things like that. The Rules of Attraction is notable because that features a character who is the brother of Patrick Bateman, Sean Bateman. And obviously that was turned into a film, and he was played by, I think it's Ian Somerhalder. I've only seen the film once.
Yeah, I've only seen it once.
But yeah, so it was written in 1991 or published in 1991, and he was sort of under the impression that because the content was so depraved and twisted, even though it is satirical, it's not an endorsement of any of these kinds of behaviours or attitudes whatsoever. It's a real deconstructionist postmodern book. But even though it was this sort of like satirical piece, it's still got some pretty twisted, disturbing scenes in it. He was convinced that because of that, it was basically unfilmable and that it would never get turned into a film. And he wasn't exactly ecstatic about the idea of one of his films being adapted again to begin with, so he just sort of like wrote it off in his mind. It was bought by producer Edward Pressman, whose name rang a bell when I was doing my research into this earlier. He produced The Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel and The Crow. So that shows the kind of like materials that he was sort of like interested in exploring in films. He loved it, and in Ellis's words, was like obsessed with the idea of turning it into a film. Initially, Johnny Depp was pegged to play Patrick Bateman, and apparently Johnny Depp really badly wanted to do it. Like and I can see a version of this with Johnny Depp in it. Then remember, this is 1991. It was like the early 90s. Johnny Depp really wanted to do it.
So it didn't get made for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
He bought the rights. I don't know if it was like immediately, but it was in the early 90s. By at the very least 1994, David Cronenberg was attached to direct it.
Okay.
But interestingly, and I found this quite weird because by this point he'd made Dead Ringers and Naked Lunch. So like two of his, I would say like all of his films are sexually charged and bizarre, but like two of his recent sexually charged films, right? He apparently didn't like the book that much and wasn't keen on a draft that Ellis had submitted and asked for it to be written. Sorry, Charlie put up his hand. I feel like I'm hogging the mic here.
No. So it's on the same thing. Didn't Cronenberg's version of the film, wasn't it like a musical? And it was supposed to be like a musical, and it ended on top of the World Trade Center.
So
that's insane.
So a version that Ellis wrote, because Ellis was brought in to do a draft of the screenplay, apparently ended in a musical number.
The thing
and
is,
I can't remember who the artist was. I think it might have been Meatloaf. I can't remember.
I mean, the thing you say that, but when you think about the film and the way he talks about music, it wouldn't surprise me in his mad mind if he was to do a musical at the end of it. It's not a bad idea.
Apparently, the climax of the film was a musical number. I'm forgetting who the song was supposed to be like danced to, but it was supposed to be a musical number that culminated at the top of the World Trade Center, which is bizarre.
Which is fucking mental.
But Ellis's justification for that, and I can see where he's coming from. I can see his point of view on this. He has said that he had spent so much time with these characters and with this story in the process of writing the book and then promoting it and speaking to people about it, that come the mid-90s, when he was asked to do a draft of it, it had occupied like 10 years of his life and he was bored of it. So to essentially write the same story again seemed a bit perfunctory and pointless to him.
Yeah.
So he shook it up and put in this proposed musical number at the end. Cronenberg, apparently, and this is the bizarre thing to me, he wanted all scenes in restaurants taken away completely because he said that apparently they really bored him, which is the point. Like, so much of the dialogue in the book is boring on purpose. Entire passages of nothing.
A whole chapter of him talking about
his skincare routine. So Cronenberg wanted all scenes in restaurants cut out, and he also wanted the violence to be either cut out completely or kept to a minimum. Now that's
really bizarre.
That surprises me from arguably the world's most famous body horror filmmaker.
Yeah.
And again, coming off of Dead Ringers and Naked Lunch, which are these two, they might not be his most violent films, but they are certainly very gaudy, out there, sexually charged, weird films, you know. For him to say, I don't want the violence, or I want the violence to be at a minimum, is very odd. Eventually, unsurprisingly, Cronenberg left the project, and then the rest is history. Mary Herron, who I haven't seen anything else that she directed. I'd heard of I Shot Andy Warhol. That was her first feature. Okay. Apparently it did really well. And it was off the back of that she got the call from Pressman to say, would you like to do American Psycho? She had initially read the book when it was published, and like many feminist critics at the time, wrote it off as this incredibly misogynistic, nasty, like, tome of violence against women. But then she reread it and was like, actually, there's a lot more going on here. And in her words, all of the other directorial offers that she'd had after the Andy Warhol film, which is completely boring to her. And she said this one about the serial killing rapist Wall Street guy is the most exciting. So she took it off of the back of the other offers being really boring, and then nice. The rest is history. So that's my little preamble about the production. But I was most fascinated to find out about David Cronenberg.
I knew everything you said then. I knew nothing about. I knew none of that. That Cronenberg, the fact that Cronenberg wanted to take the violence out is.
Did you know that after Johnny Depp they wanted Leonardo DiCaprio?
No,
Really?
I didn't.
Yeah, apparently after it would have been sort of after Titanic, wasn't it? 2000. You would have done Titanic by then.
Yeah.
And he was told by someone, I can't remember who it was, not to do it.
Oh, I think actually now you said that, I think
because
I remember
there's a
something.
clip of Christian Bale thanking Leonardo DiCaprio
Yes.
for not doing the film.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything about that. That's mad.
I mean, Christian Bale is fantastic.
Yes.
And he has, like, and we're going to get into why his performance is so great. But I'm not trying to talk badly of him. Any of the people that we've mentioned so far, and I think, and people will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, I think at one point Brad Pitt was in talks to, I think Cronenberg wanted Pitt. Johnny Depp was seeking it out. He wanted to do it. And then you've just told me about Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Any one of those three could fit the bill. You just need a conventionally handsome 20-something white American guy. I mean, I'm not trying to say that anybody could do it. They're obviously very talented actors. But I mean, in terms of the physical prerequisites, they all fit the bill perfectly.
Yeah, 100%.
I wonder if what works so well though with because when people talk about this film, they talk about Bale. They don't really think about who, like, nearly cast as Patrick Bateman. I think probably what works so well about that is the fact that at the time nobody really knew Christian Bale.
That's why
he was kind of an unknown, and maybe that's why it's kind of gathered. And as he's got bigger, people have looked back at what he's done, and it's kind of grown that bit of a cult kind of feeling.
That's why Lionsgate didn't want Christian Bale to be cast, because he was kind of wafted around by the director.
Yeah,
because the director wanted Christian Bale, and Lionsgate were like, absolutely not. And I think he got paid $50,000 for doing American Psycho.
Was that it?
Yeah, because he did an interview that I saw recently, and he said that the makeup artists were paid more than him.
Wow.
I mean, it just goes to show how obscene the salaries are for these actors. 50,000, and you're like, is that it?
Yeah.
Like,
I wouldn't mind 50 grand, to be honest.
People are making like 15 million an episode now.
Yeah,
on some shows on Netflix and stuff. So
it's ridiculous. As a very, very brief and completely random sidebar, because I had to watch this on DVD today.
Oh my god, you did?
Yeah.
When was the last time you watched a DVD?
Yeah. Well, you say that. I'm a big Scooby-Doo enthusiast. So anybody that listening who knows us in real life will know this. I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan, and quite a lot of the Scooby-Doo content is only available on DVD.
Really?
I wonder why. There's not a huge market for people that want to buy 30-year-old animations on 4K. Last Halloween I watched quite a lot of old Scooby-Doo, and it was all on DVD.
Oh wow!
So
nice.
I went to eject from my PlayStation 5 because I tried to keep my Blu-ray and multi-region players like specifically for Blu-rays and 4Ks. Yeah. So I went to eject my PS5 today, and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island on DVD came out. But anyway, when I was watching American Psycho, it still has the very, very old Lionsgate.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
At the
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
Is that on the Blu-ray as well?
I can't remember if it's on the Blu-ray because so obviously because as you know, I have to have some of my stuff up in the loft, and it is currently up in the loft, my 4K version. I will get it down. But so I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah,
and
me
Netflix
too.
and Netflix still have the Lionsgate.
Yeah.
You're joking. It's
Nah,
on Netflix.
it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Oh,
So
it is also on ITVX as well.
I knew I had it on DVD.
I was faffing around.
Yeah. Why didn't you tell us?
So yeah, no, I'm in a very, very similar situation to you. All of my DVDs are up in the loft. I have some VHSs downstairs for like nostalgic, but anything that's DVD is upstairs. So I had to get in my loft, rooting through Tupperwares to find the DVD. Well, I did the voice search on my Sky remote for American Psycho, and it only came up with American Psycho on Sky Store. And then on Amazon Prime free to watch, there was, I'm guessing it's a parody or blaxploitation film that's called African American Psycho.
Wow.
and there's a black guy with an afro holding up the knife doing the same pose.
No
and I was
way.
like, that's that, whatever that is.
You should have watched it.
Yeah, that sounds sick. But yeah, I didn't know it was on.
So on Netflix, it still has the old school
Lionsgate logo. That's good.
I'll have to once I'll get down and see if 4K still has. I'm pretty sure it would.
Because the old Studio Canal logo is one of my favourite studio idents, and when we went to watch T2 a few weeks ago, they'd updated it to the modern Studio Canal. I hate it when they because there are certain like the Orion logo, the Coralco logo.
Orion, yeah.
Those are the old TriStar logo.
Yes, yeah.
Those like scratch a specific itch in my brain.
Yeah.
And when you get a new release of an old film and they've updated it to the mod, I'm like, piss off. So this is not what people have come for. So let's get back on track. I do apologise. Should we go into the plot breakdown?
I was going to say, should we make our way through the film now? Because I've written a few like notes of stuff that we're going to talk about, but we'll as we go through the film, we'll end up talking about them anyway. So to begin with, it's just a white screen, and then some like red drops start going down, and you automatically thinking American Psycho, red drops, blood, straight away, and then as one drop goes, there's like a little bit of violin that goes bloom, 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 and then this beautiful music starts playing. And it turns out that the red drops aren't blood; it's actually just like strawberry sauce,
some sort of like berry reduction,
raspberry coulis,
yeah. So and then you see we're in a posh restaurant. We're introduced to four men. They're all they're in this restaurant. And they're all having a chat, but we don't actually know who they are yet. But if you know who Christian Bale is, then obviously he's there. Christian, and then they after that they go onto a club, and Christian Bale is getting a drink, but again we don't know who he is yet. And then he just threatens her. He's like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, I'm gonna cut you open and do something with your spleen.
So right off, that is obviously a very, very disturbing bit of behaviour from Christian Bale's character. But before that, I think it's one of the opening lines of dialogue. We're immediately met with casual anti-Semitism and racism. Oh, their banter at the dinner table. They're laughing about one of their co-workers. He says, "Oh, he got an account. How did he get that? He says lucky bastard." Then one of them goes, "Lucky Jew bastard." Like they are really having this like disgusting conversation in broad daylight.
Would you say what is typically shown in films of like financial Wall Street people?
Well, yeah, just yuppie culture. That's what this film is obviously holding up a mirror to the 80s Reaganomics, mass consumerism, yuppie dickhead culture. But one of the things that I thought was interesting, the food itself, there is quite a focus on food in this film, and it just shows how, particularly the close-ups on these things, it shows how quintessentially like 80s excessive the dinner plates are. Yeah. They are overly decorated, dainty, needlessly presented. Yeah. The bill comes to $570, which he says is very reasonable. By today's standards, adjusted for inflation, that's about $1,600. $1,600 for a lunchtime dinner. Yeah. And the plates that they were bringing out, it was like a tablespoon's amount of food, decorated over designed with these sort of like reductions and sauces and stuff, completely like out of touch.
Yeah, the point I was going to make that I've got written down, I don't even have to look at it on my phone, is like the posher the restaurant they go to, the food looks shit.
Wait, did they?
I think it might be intentional because they're paying all this money for something that's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, that's 100% the point.
But I was just like, well, it's kind of horrible.
It's kind of, as you go through the film, we'll get to a point, but a lot of the kind of psyche and the kind of acts of these men, and it's particularly Patrick Bateman, is that they've got so much money that they just see it as power, and they just see it all as right. That's what he acts with recklessness because he knows that he can get away with it.
This is like one of the ultimate modern deconstruction pieces of like that era of excessiveness. Of this just completely out of touch, farcical 80s over the top yuppie lifestyle. Like every plateful that you see, like you say, Charlie, looks unappealing. Even the menu in the first restaurant that they're at, I can't remember which one it is. I remember some of the other names because they're ridiculous. But the first restaurant that they're at, where they're having the argument over dreidels and menorahs, the menu is hand drawn and it's illegible. And there's someone looking at it, and they like it only lasts for like a shot, like maybe 2 frames. But it's like you can barely read what's on the menu. The plates look ridiculous, and they just sit there and they go, "Oh, it's very reasonable." $1,600 for. There are sequences in The Sopranos where they go out for dinner and characters will say, "Oh, I'd hate to pay that number," and it's like $1,100 in 2008. But they were getting lobsters and chowders and bottles of champagne. As you said, Charlie, the food that they were bringing out looks awful and it's tiny. And they're paying the best part of $2,000 for a lunchtime meal. Sorry, we've focused way too much on this opening scene, but it does set the scene for how excessive they are, how insensitive they are, how casually racist they are, and then they go on to this club. One of them comes back to the table. Mind you, this is a lunchtime reservation, and his opening gambit to the table as he returns is not even a good bathroom to do coke in.
Oh, some of the scenes where they talk about coke, especially in the clubs, like again we'll get to that again, but it is the more you watch, like after a couple of watches you just realise just how ridiculous. It's not just Patrick Bateman that's absolutely insane in this film. Pretty much everyone is.
I just made that Sopranos comparison because like there's a whole episode where Paulie and Chrissy are debating who should have to pay the bill because the bills are getting comically large, right? And one bill is $1,100, but they were ordering multiple bottles of champagne, lobster thermidor, and that in 2008 was seen as like a laughably high bill. And then for like a group of men, like an entourage of gangsters, like overweight gangsters, and these 4 men have managed to rack up
You don't even see them eat.
No, a $1,600 bill.
Yeah, so they probably didn't even eat it. They probably just bought it because they could, and then just gone, yeah sure. Okay, that'll do. And they all throw in the exact same credit card, just like it's nothing. So after that, after he threatens this bartender, she doesn't hear him, but as the film goes on, there's another couple of these incidences where you start to, like, the kind of plot twist happens. You start to kind of think back and think, oh, actually, maybe, but we'll get onto that. After that, this is where he introduces himself as Patrick Bateman in his apartment.
I just want to make a quick point about the threat that he makes to the woman.
Yeah, what is it exactly he says? He's like, I'm going to cut you open and wear your spleen or something.
Says you're a fucking ugly bitch. I'm going to stab you to death and play with your blood.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I picked up on watching it today, because there are multiple scenes where multiple characters are abusive to service staff, either just flat out rude. One of the things I wrote down in my notes is not once does any of the characters, even some of the female characters who are like more sympathetic, not once do any of them say thank you to the drivers, waiters, masseuse. Nobody pays them any respect. But there are multiple scenes where he is like violent and threatens these people with death or whatever, and they don't seem to react at all. In the dry cleaners, he gets the most reaction from that woman. We'll get to this scene. But it shows, because we're going to talk about how he could possibly be an unreliable narrator. If these events are actually happening, it shows how impotent and weak he actually is. Yeah. The whole point of this film is, and I'm jumping the gun a bit here, but Patrick Bateman is a loser. And you should not aspire to be Patrick Bateman. He's pathetic, and he's trying to exert dominance over his friends all the time. He's trying to exert control. Every time he threatens people, they don't even respond, and he's threatening them with death, violence, sexual abuse, and they just look at him or ignore him. Yeah, it shows how impotent and powerless he actually is. But sorry,
no. It is a very valid point because we'll get into it because there's a part that I know. I think when I noticed when I've then gone, oh, is he actually saying it? Yeah. That's the kind of thing I got.
So it's brilliant on either way. If these interactions and exchanges are actually happening, then it shows just how toothless and pathetic he comes across.
And nobody actually cares about him. Yeah.
Or just how in 1980s New York, how desensitized service people have come to language like that from patrons, which is very worrying.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he only said it because he knew that the music was too loud and she wouldn't be able to hear it.
Yeah. Well, but which again shows that he's deep down a bit of a coward.
Yeah, because he really wanted to say he'd shout it.
Exactly. Yeah. If these things haven't been happening and he's just imagining them, what are the implications of that? Which we'll get into later.
Yeah. So the next morning, we're in his apartment. He introduces us as Patrick Bateman, and he starts going through his. So this is kind of like, if you've read the book, you'll know this is straight out the book. This is he starts talking about his skincare routine and literally talking through everything he's using. He'll use it. Then what's next? And what's next? And what's next?
I'm going to let you carry on, Dan. I'm just going to interrupt. Before he gets onto his skincare routine, something that I thought that was interesting that I picked up on today, before he even gives us his name and age, he tells us his address.
Yeah.
He says, I live in the American Gardens building, West 81st Street. I am Patrick Bateman. I'm 27 years old. He's
trying to show first.
He says his address as if anybody outside of New York or that knows knowing the geography to that level of accuracy is incredibly rare for anybody that's not a native to America. So that means nothing to anybody, and he's telling it as if we're supposed to be impressed.
Is that kind of like another showing of like somebody could be like showing all this wealth and all this stuff, but people don't actually care.
Yeah, this is
like,
the point.
The point is like, who knows where that is? Like you say, us here in England don't have a clue where in New York that is, even if it is in New York.
His apartment, something that I thought was pretty interesting. The majority of the framed pieces of artwork on his wall are either blank or filled in canvases. They don't have any artwork on them.
I was going to say it's very minimalist, and it's weirdly OCD. Yeah, but for the type of person that we end up finding out who he is, you would feel like kind of like, especially like when you look at other serial killer films, somebody who's usually that OCD usually is a bit more careful with how they're killing, when he clearly isn't careful with how he's doing it.
I mean, that in media has become a bit of a shorthand to take the piss out of clueless yuppies and stuff. Modern artwork, I'm using in quotation marks, that isn't really of any value, like artwork that is depicting nothing, like Jackson Pollock supposedly is just like people like to scoff at. I'm thinking of like the Wilson Fisk painting that he pays millions for, and it's literally just a white canvas with some specks of white on it, and it's obviously meant to say like these people they have so much money, they're buying blank canvases, but they're paying hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for them. His entire apartment is adorned with artwork like that. He has the Les Miserables thing in his bathroom, but the main canvases in his living room are just all filled in black. There's nothing on them. And you can bet that if he was to focus on those pieces of artwork, he'd say, this one cost me $800,000 from this gallery in New York. This one cost me $7,000 from a gallery in Soho. And they're just nothing. Yeah, there's no artwork in them. It's just a blank canvas.
So after that, so as he's doing this conversation where you talk about himself and his routine, that he then, towards the end, he starts like changing the conversation and starts talking about his like weird psyche and how he's actually, he doesn't specifically say, but like he's going a little bit mad and that he's becoming a bit more violent in himself, which is kind of a weird, like a real shift in like the actual like monologue that we're getting.
But yeah, you were going to say about the book, the passage in the book.
Yeah, so the passages in the book are very similar. So like we'll get onto another bit where, so like in the film he starts talking about like Phil Collins, and he talks about Huey Lewis and the News. I can't remember the album that he's listening to, but when he's with Paul Allen, and he just starts talking, even like with like he starts talking about is it Whitney Houston as well?
Yeah.
The chapters in the book are literally that. It is literally about 10 pages of him talking about the history of Huey Lewis and the News and his favorite parts and his favorite songs and stuff like that. So how they transferred the words from all that kind of scene from, if you read that in a book, you'd be bored as shit. And like you said before, it's meant to be because he is a boring person. But the way that they've kind of transferred that from page to screen, I think is done quite well, because they've kept it short, but also at the same time, you can tell he's a very bland man.
And the irony is not lost on me that we are saying this sat in front of microphones, but this shows his like vapid self-obsession that he thinks people give a shit about what he has to say. Yeah. He is monologuing about a pop artist. In this bit in the film, he's obviously talking about his skincare routine. Yeah. But like, nobody cares.
No.
Nobody cares what Avion skin cream you're using and how much it costs and how it protects you from UV and all this sort of stuff. Like, it protects you against wrinkles and things, anti-aging. In the book, it's an abridged version in the film, but as you say, in the book, it goes on for pages.
Like, and even in like sometimes in the book, like especially as the book goes on, like those monologue chapters that go on, like the words start breaking up and like losing their position on the page. Like that part of the book is really fucking good, but we won't go into the book. But one of the things that really interests me when I messaged you last night, this actually, I was like, oh, fucking. Like him talking about his skincare routine. There's this video online that has just blown up of this person doing their morning routine. And it was just so surreal watching watching this and thinking this was made in 2000 and I'm now sat here in 2025. And it's not even just that person that's released that video.
No.
Everybody talks about their routines. It's mad to see.
There's a doctor called Andrew Huberman who got quite famous like probably a couple of years ago now. It was just like, who started I wake up at 4 a.m. I do this and this and this and this, and now like TikTok is full of that.
It's so much.
Everyone's morning routine, evening routine, skincare routines, huge now.
It's an interesting link back to our previous episode, because we spoke about this in the Truman Show, because we were speaking about how, to us, I say not to me specifically because I wasn't alive, but to audiences in 1997 or 98, whenever it was, the idea of just watching somebody do their menial tasks day to day seemed laughable. Yeah. But now we do live in an age where an overwhelming amount of content on the internet, like you say, is literally get ready with me, meal prep with me, my morning routine. And the morning routines that he goes through in the book and in the film are farcical. But these ones that you're referencing, because I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is it
But up at like 3:30,
Yeah.
he swims in the air for 4 minutes. That
Yeah,
whole thing, yeah.
That is beyond parody. That's
Yeah.
more insane than anything that is in this book, which came out 30 plus years ago, which was taking the mick out of this type of self-obsessed, vain lifestyle. These people that are doing the video we're talking about, just for reference, went viral very recently. We're recording
I think
this
his name's
in
Aston something.
Yeah, we're recording this in April of 25. It's a very built black guy, and he's like doing the most insane morning routine. Doesn't he rub a banana peel on his face at one point?
Yeah.
He
but he's up from like 3:30.
Yeah, he decants a bottle of water into an ice bowl and then gives his face an ice bath.
Yeah.
It's more insane than anything that Patrick Bateman does in this film.
And you see more and more and more of it now.
Yeah.
And
Everywhere.
when you think about this film, like we're talking about, this person doesn't like, says he does all this routine, he talks about all these people, and nobody gives a shit. Whereas we now live in a world where millions of people are watching this and probably do care. And it's like, it's this weird change in social. It's
bizarre.
It was mind-boggling. I was watching it and just thinking to myself, I'm watching TikTok. I'm watching Instagram Reels right now.
Yeah.
That is literally what I'm watching. It is mind blowing. But anyway, so after his morning routine and all stuff like that, we go to we're at Patrick Bateman's work, and he's just walking. He's listening to Walking on Sunshine. Is it? Just like storming through. Gets to his office. Speaks to Jean, his receptionist, and he's like, "No calls."
Oh, poor Jean.
Poor Jean. Yeah, he's like, I don't want any. She's asking him all stuff. He's like, I don't want any calls. Cancel my meetings. And then all he does is put his feet up and watches telly.
Well, in this first scene, he speaks to her in only imperatives. That's the entire. And she tries to be complimentary towards him, and he is vile towards her. He's so condescending and rude, and speaks at her in imperatives.
Is this the scene where he's like, "Don't wear that again"?
Yeah. It's like, is it like wear heels? I like heels, or something like that as well. It's just vile.
I say this might be a change or a disparity. When I read the book, because there is a bit at I don't know what chapter it is. It's been many years since I've read it. He says at one point, he goes on about, he's talking about how he interacts with Jean, but he finishes the sentence with something along the lines of, "But Jean is hopelessly in love with me." Like he says to the reader that she's hopelessly in love with him.
Okay.
When I was reading the book, I always thought that was his just self-absorbed vanity, and he just assumed that because she's his secretary and he's his Wall Street guy, that she'd have to be in love with him. Whereas in the film, she does actually seem to be
caring towards him,
a little bit enamored with him.
Yeah.
Like she takes that remark where he goes, "And I like high heels." She sort of like sheepishly smiles to herself and backs away.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not she genuinely does have feelings for him, or whether he's imagining it.
I feel like it's difficult, especially when you know how the film ends. You don't. When looking back at that scene, you don't. Well, it's this whole point of the unreliable, right? Like we said, do we know? Do we believe everything that we're watching?
Or you want to go there now?
No. We're not. I thought you were going to say something anyway. No, we're not going there now.
I was just going to say their interactions are quite limited. So that relationship, I think she genuinely does think that, he's quite a sweet guy. Obviously, he's fucking not.
Do you think it's more of like a crush? Maybe? Like an office crush? Like, is he supposed to be older than her?
He's 27. I'd assume that, she's going to be the same age or younger.
Yeah.
But I think she is a little bit of a crush. She is a little bit enamored with him, and she's just taking that as he's being flirty.
Yeah.
Like, I like high heels when it's horrible. But I wrote down in my notes, at no point in the film do any of the employees of Pierce & Pierce do any work.
Yeah, 100%.
No, nothing.
He doesn't. All he does is listen to his Walkman, watch TV, and go to lunch meetings.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's quite a few funny moments where he uses lunch meetings as an excuse, which we'll get to. But I wrote that down. He never does any work.
No.
I don't know if they say it in the film. I think this is the case in the book. I might be wrong, so people could correct me. His dad owns part of the firm, so that's how he's
I
gotten.
think so, yeah.
There's a scene in the taxi where Reese
it's
Witherspoon says...
It's her father, isn't it?
No, it's his father.
Oh, it is his
Because she's
father.
like, your dad basically owns the company. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Oh well, that's the next thing actually.
So he hasn't even worked for where he is.
Yeah, it's been handed.
It's been handed to him. Yeah.
Well, we'll jump onto that scene next. So it's after that exchange with Gina. It's nighttime, and he's going out to dinner with Evelyn. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it Evelyn? Reese Witherspoon's character, and he's trying to listen to music whilst she's trying to talk to him, and he's just like, "She won't fucking shut up." I can't remember what album it is. He's listening to a new album. I can't remember what album it is. It's a new one. Is it the new Huey Lewis and the News one? Because there's a point where the detective later on in the film has a copy in his briefcase.
Oh yes, it might be. I've got a couple of the artists written down that I recognised just from hearing in the film. So he listens to New Order, Robert Palmer, Huey Lewis and the News, Phil Collins, and Whitney Houston. Yeah, those are the ones that I could recognise from by name.
The Whitney Houston's. We'll get onto that, but that's my favourite.
Yes, he goes to dinner with his colleagues, and there's two sort of hippie art students, I believe, that are with him.
They're like someone's sister or brother or something like that.
Something like that. And this is my second favourite line in the film. Somebody says something to Bryce, who is one of Patrick's colleagues, and he turns around and goes, "What about the massacres in Sri Lanka, honey?" I can't remember how he says it, but basically goes, "But what about the massacres in Sri Lanka, honey?" He says it's as if it's like a comeback. This is like actual things that are happening to people, and he's so indifferent to it.
But then from that bit of the conversation, then Patrick Bateman goes on to this mad, I care for everything in the world kind of speech, and talks about we gotta solve world hunger, and just like,
firstly, we have to end apartheid. We have to slow down the arms race. Slow down the arms, not end the arms race. Slow down the arms race. Everything that he's saying is just some political truism that he's co-opted from some sort of op-ed or article that he's read. He doesn't believe any of it. He's just saying it because it's supposed to be said.
Do you think it's also something, well, especially with these two people that he's probably never met, that he's trying to act cool?
Yeah, it's performative. Everything he does, every single line of dialogue in the film is performative to us or to the surrounding characters. Everything in that speech, you can tell he's just ripped from somewhere else, and he just reels it off. And then they just he's only doing it to try and show Bryce up because Bryce has mentioned the things happening in Sri Lanka, and then nobody cares. They just move on.
I think a couple of when they're sorry, this is going back when they're in the car and she's like, and even saying to him I want to get married. This is the where he says about you don't. And he's like, I can't get the time. I can't take time off work. So, the thing is, we see that he's obviously not busy at work, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. I'm just like, I feel so sorry for her because she's just an innocent person that doesn't have a clue what's going on. And then, he's just batting her off every single time. But then later on in the film, I need to stop jumping ahead. I make links from when I see something at the end of the film, and I link it back to part of the other film.
So after that dinner scene where he gives his sort of political pearl clutching speech is the interaction in the dry cleaners where he goes in with the sheets.
Oh yes. So well, but before that, it was just one of my notes for today as well. He's like, "Isn't that Donald Trump's car?" Well, yeah. And then he mentions Ivanka Trump as well at another point.
In the book, he is fanatically obsessed with Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's like more than 20 references.
Yeah, he's massively obsessed with Trump in the book. But yeah, he goes to the dry cleaner.
So before that he's walking down the street at night and he stands next to this woman at the sidewalk and he says hello to her and she's like, "Oh, hi." And then is that when they then walk away, and then the next morning is at the dry cleaners.
Yeah,
because the
implication is that he's murdered her.
Because he's got blood on the sheets. But so he's it's like a Asian Oriental dry cleaners, and they can't understand anything he's saying, and he's just shouting at them, and no one's getting anywhere.
He goes in with blood-stained sheets that he insists cannot be bleached, and expects them to be able to have them done by the end of the afternoon. When they then say that's close to impossible, he then says, "I have a dinner reservation at Hugh Bear's with Ronald Harmon," as if as if the dry cleaning woman gives a shit who Ronald Harmon is, and cares about his dinner reservation. That's when he makes the threat to her, and she.
If you don't shut your fucking mouth, I'm gonna kill you. Something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. And a woman walks in and he palms her off.
Yeah.
And this is the first example of him using a lunch reservation an hour and a half before. He says, well, I've got a lunch reservation and it's like 11:15 in the morning. He says, I've got to run.
And then she's like, what about Saturday? Yeah. No, can't. And then what's the other excuse? It's not just the beginning of the video.
He says, I've got a matinee of Les Mis, isn't it?
That's it, yes, that's it, yeah.
And then when he comes out the door, you see his mask slip.
Yeah.
Which is,
So after that, sorry about that.
He rings Dorsia.
So, but this is, what's mad about this is that he just has porn on at home, casually watching porn whilst he's on the phone, which is a bit like, it's like some, and it's loud. It's not even like he's subtly got it on in the background really quietly. He's got it on now that someone is hearing that on the end of the phone. I don't know what his purpose is behind that, or why he has to have that, or if it's just, again, another kind of power move.
Well, again, I really don't want, if we have anybody that's listened before, thank you so much. I said this every episode. I know genuinely. I feel
it is nice. Yeah,
we should thank people if they're listening, if they're repeat listeners. Thank you so much. It means the world to us. But I don't want to seem as though I am this really, what's the word I'm looking for? Uptight, pearl clutching, think of the children sort of like person. But I did go on during our American Pie episode. I did talk about how how desensitized people in 2025 are to things like hardcore pornography, how commonplace it is and how normalized it's become. Again, this is a book that was written in 91, published in 91, film in 2000, and he's just at home with hardcore pornography in the background. That was seen as completely unheard of or psychopathic behavior 25 years ago, whereas the content that he's watching is fairly commonplace for pornography that is consumed on a day-to-day basis and laughed and joked about in public by people.
Yeah.
There's another thing that quite a lot of these worrying
trends
that we're observing in this film and in other films that we've discussed so far that are coming true. It's that type of behavior. Watching porn on a big TV was like alarming and psychopathic 25 years ago. I literally saw a tweet today. Somebody had snapped through somebody's front room window, and the joke was, the cat looks really uncomfortable because somebody was watching Pornhub on their family TV in the front room, and the family cat was sort of like looking at the TV with a puzzled look on their face. And somebody's walking past their house and just, I will find the tweet and send it to the both of you afterwards, in case you don't believe me. But the point is that is like a
commonplace.
Yeah, worryingly becoming normalized.
Yeah. So when he's actually watching porn, he's on the phone to is it Courtney? Christy.
Courtney.
He's on the phone to Courtney, and she and he's like, oh yeah, you come to it, but he's having an affair with her. And then he calls Dorsia, and he's like, oh, can I have a tape?
She's out of it, isn't she?
Yeah, she's drugged out of a nut. So he's like, tries to reserve a table at Dorset, and the bloke just laughs at him down the phone. Just like, what? You really think you're going to get a reservation on the day at Dorsia? They never end up at Dorsia in the whole film.
Yeah, you never actually see Dorsia. But the irony is, I'm sure if we did see it, it would look identical to
exactly the same.
Barcadia, Tex Americana, all the other restaurants that they go to, it would look exactly the same.
But that's quite funny because then he takes Courtney to Dorsia, but when he lifts the menu up, it is actually Barcadia. And then he tells her what she's going to eat. Yeah. But the way he reads it out to her is so... Go on, do it.
New York Matinee called it a playful little dish. Playful little dish. Sorry, I struggle to pronounce my L's when I'm doing an American voice. And usually, because I spent the majority of my childhood with my friends role-playing Batman, I think I'm quite good at doing a Christian. If it's the Dark Knight, I don't think I'm too bad at it. But yeah, he says you're gonna have the butternut, the mashed butternut or the mashed Swede, with a peanut soup. And he says New York Matinee called it a playful little dish
But
And
she's drugged out of her head.
Drugged out of her mind. She can
So
barely sort of sit up.
She hasn't got a clue.
No, and he's just sat there, and then he just starts looking around because there's nothing to do.
Well, she's like slumping in the chair. She's just starts to fall back.
After that is the famous business card scene. Now, should we watch it? Because this is again one of those scenes that everybody knows. This scene, there's been parodies about it. So we're gonna watch it. You can listen in. So yeah, we're just gonna have a quick little 2.5 minute clip.
Patrick, thanks so much for looking after Courtney. Dorcia, how impressive. How on earth did you get a reservation there?
Lucky, I guess.
That's a wonderful suit. Don't tell me, let me guess. Valentino Couture.
Uh-huh.
It looks so soft.
Your compliment was sufficient, Louis.
Hello, Halberstram.
Nice tie.
How the hell are you?
Alan has mistaken me for this dickhead, Marcus Halberstram. It seems logical because Marcus also works at PNP and in fact does the same exact thing I do. He also has a penchant for Valentino's suits
same
and all
haircut.
people's glasses.
Everyone.
Marcus and I even go to the same barber.
All
Although
of
I
the
have a
people's
slightly better
glasses.
haircut.
So how's the ransom account going, Marcus?
It's all right.
Really? That's interesting. It's not great.
Oh, well, you know.
So how's Cecilia? She's a great girl.
Oh, yeah. I'm very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Alan. Congratulations on the Fisher account.
Thank you, Baxter.
Listen, Paul, squash.
Call me.
What, Friday?
No can do. I got an 8:30 res at Dorcia. Great. Sea urchin ceviche.
Doors, yeah, Friday night. How do you swing that? I think he's lying. Is that a gram?
New card. What do you think?
Whoa. Very nice. Look at that.
Picked them up from the printers yesterday.
Good coloring.
That's bone. And the lettering is something called Cillian Braille.
It's very cool, Bateman, but that's nothing. Look at this.
That is really nice.
Eggshell,
You nailed it.
Romalian type. What do you think?
Nice. Jesus. That is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
I can't believe that Bryce prefers Van Patten's card to mine.
But wait. You ain't seen nothing yet. Raised lettering. Pale nimbus. White.
Impressive. Very nice. Let's see Paul Allen's card. Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God. It even has a watermark.
Something wrong? Patrick? You're sweating.
I love
her. I mean,
Not a sponsored ad.
Not a sponsor. I mean, that whole conversation is fucking boring. They're talking like, but the way it's filmed, the way you talk about it is enticing. It's weird. Like, how
Yeah.
could you find a conversation about different color, different types? I didn't know there was more than one different type of white. It's
That's bone.
pale nimbus.
Fucking.
I mean, the fact you pointed out as well just then in the conversation that out of all those men, they all have the exact same haircut.
Except for Lewis.
Who has
Has like the little
the curtains.
curtains, but yeah.
And he's the only one that wears a bow tie.
Yeah.
I've
Yes.
noticed that. One of the things that I find interesting, because this is the first time we're like actually introduced to Paul Allen, who has been name dropped many times. He is like the object of jealousy, the ire of everybody in the room. Everybody
Yes.
aspires to be him. And aside from the fact that he has this sort of like incredibly lucrative and rare reservation at Dorcia on a Friday, like there is no discernible difference between him and anybody in the room. And it shows just
exactly
how
the same.
insane this lifestyle and culture is. They all envy him and want to be him, and he's identical. They're all like cookie cutter replicas of each other. They wear the same suits. They don't even
Same
wear
haircuts,
exactly.
yeah.
They don't even wear different styles of suits. It's all roughly the same cut, the same fit,
Colour.
the same sorts of color combinations. Their haircuts are all indistinguishable, like Charlie said. They've got the same haircut, and yet Paul Allen is this one that is seen as like above the parapet, the one that they all want to be. And I just find that really funny.
But it's the same with, when you think about it, it's the same with everything they do. They're like trying to outbeat each other, or I've got this restaurant reservation, but like we've said, it's all the same.
Yeah. What I noticed in the clip as well is the fact that there's a phone that rings in the background,
and
no one answers it
because they're too busy showing cards.
Yeah, and you also get the first glimpse into the fact that Christian Bale can apparently sweat on cue.
Oh, it's insane. Whenever he gets like jealous or nervous, he sweats profusely.
Yeah,
and angry. It's like that certain trait of that again. His mask slipping of being this calm, cool, collected person. He just loses it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you showed. I didn't know that you'd planned to show this clip. So people will have like a frame of reference for what I'm going to say, because I'd written down in my notes there were two bits of it's like sound design in the mix that I thought were really interesting when I put it on earlier. When Paul Allen walks into the room, there is like a standoff rattle, like from a Sergio Leone film. Like there is a rattle, like a gunslinger has walked into the room, and every time they clip their card holders, it's the sound of a sword unsheathing. From a scabbard. So, like they're drawing swords or knives, and it's literally just a business card coming out of a case. I don't know if this firm is a real firm, and I don't know if there is a different spelling in America, like American English versus our English. But one of the things I thought was funny is all of the cards have spelt Pierce wrong.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, like Pearpier.
Pierce is spelt wrong. I'm 90% sure.
We won't watch it now, but after
that's not from me. That came from I listened. I was cheating a little bit. I listened to a video essay in the car on the way here. Not through headphones, because I'm a conscientious and responsible driver, through my sound system in the car. But this person pointed out they did a breakdown of this scene. They didn't pick up on the sound effects like I did, though. So
very good.
Yeah.
Good.
But he said that, apparently the business cards all have an incorrect spelling of Pierce and Pierce.
Wow. I think, I don't know if it is because I've just watched this recently, but I'm pretty sure Pierce and Pierce is an actual like company.
Is it a real firm?
I think it is. So it's even funnier the fact that they must have, unless it's spelled wrong on purpose so that they didn't get done.
And my being crazy as well is that they've all got just one business card on them.
Yeah.
Like they've come to the meeting on purpose with one business card to show each other.
Well, I think the none of us in here are tradesmen or people that have our own businesses. We do have a Missing Scene podcast business card. Why are you laughing?
It's just mad because we have it, but we've never had. What I'm
going to say is
we haven't given it to
we don't. I can't imagine that you'd need, unless you were going to a trade fair or an event where there are going to be other people, I can't imagine that you'd need more than one at any point during the day. Like, how often do you give someone in day-to-day life your phone number? So maybe that's why. Or maybe in their offices, because they're having a meeting at work, they'll have like a stack in there. But this is the introduction of Paul Allen, and what I was going to come on, why I went on that little tangent. Paul Allen, interestingly, is the only character in the film and in the book, if I remember correctly, but I haven't read the book for a while, who Patrick kills that is on an equal or higher social standing of him. Everybody else that he kills is either a homeless person or a prostitute or a woman. He goes to kill Jean, who's obviously his secretary, gets interrupted. But Paul Allen is the only one who's on equal footing to him.
Yeah.
And it could be that the murder of Paul Allen doesn't take place, and that obviously obviously that could be what happened. That's the clincher of the plot twist at the end, isn't it? The guy says to him, I had dinner with Paul Allen two nights ago in London. But it could be that Paul Allen's murder, in quotation marks, is a jealous fantasy. And that's the only reason why he only appears to kill another fellow Wall Street banker is because he's jealous of Paul Allen. He doesn't have any other like physical confrontations or beef with anybody else other than Lewis, which we'll get to, and that's for an interesting reason. But everybody else he kills is many, many classes in his eyes lower than him.
Well, this is the next scene. So the next scene is actually probably the first bit of actual violence that we see him do. So the next scene, he's walking down an alleyway late at night, and there's this homeless man with his dog. He offers the homeless man money, and he just goaded him like, what's your name?
Is this what you want? Isn't it?
Al, why don't you get a job, Al? And then he's like, I'm going to help you out, Al. And then he like touches him on the arm, and he looks at him in disgust, and he's like, we don't have anything in common. And then he just stabs him to death, and then stamps his dog to death, and then walks off. At this point, there's no reason to think that the plot twist that happens at the end is actually currently happening. There's nothing to kind of like give you that inkling that what he's doing is possibly part of his
fantasy.
So it's weird. Like as the film goes on, it's like we see an escalation of violence every single time. So this is the first actual bit of violence that we see, and like you say, this is exactly what you said. He attacks the homeless people, the people that are powerless against him. It's always people like you say that are lower class. And then after that he gives us another monologue based again on himself. He acknowledges that he's becoming a kind of like a serial killer, and then he's at a Christmas party and invites Paul Allen for dinner. So this is like the beginning of him kind of his plan to get Paul Allen alone, but Paul Allen doesn't recognize him as Patrick Bateman. He recognizes him as, I can't remember, is it Marcus?
Marcus Halberstram.
And is Marcus? Do we ever meet Marcus Halberstram, or is he just another name?
I think he's in the business card scene, but it's not someone that he has like a sit down meal with.
Yeah. So then, so he invites Paul Allen for dinner. He thinks his name is Marcus, and then they go to the most normal looking restaurant in the whole film. It's just some kind of like,
it's Texarkana.
Is it Texarkana? But is it? It's not like one of the restaurants that we've seen them frequent usually. It's not.
Well, it could be. It looks like a designer place, like by the styles of the menus and everything, and the waiter says like, "Would you like to hear our specials tonight?" and everything. I don't think it would be like a chain, like a TGI Fridays.
See, I saw it more as a chain.
I don't know. But the point is, obviously, it's way less desirable than Dorsia. And Paul Allen says to him,
"Yeah, I could have got reservations at Dorsia."
And he looks at nobody goes there
anymore. And then as their conversation, like obviously Paul Allen's getting extreme, like he's getting more drunk as it goes on, and Patrick Bateman, I'm assuming, isn't drinking, or he must be throwing his drinks away or something, because he's clear as his head is clear. He's speaking normally.
Another martini, Paul.
And then that's it. That was this is where you start to think, is what he's saying actually, is he actually saying it? This is where I started noticing a little bit. So when he says to Paul Allen, I like to dissect girls. Did you know that I'm utterly insane? But again, it's like he's thinking it because no one reacts to it. If someone says that to you, you either laugh kind of like, like nervously laugh, or you kind of a bit like, okay, that was a weird thing to say, but nobody acknowledges it whatsoever. So then and then this is again probably another one of the most famous scenes that people kind of like know from this film, is that the Paul Allen killing scene.
Yeah.
So he's got him back up in his apartment. Paul Allen sat on the chair, and he's like got newspapers spread out, and he's covered everything in like
sheets, dust sheets. Yeah.
And then he puts on a rain jacket. And he's
talking to him when he's buttoning it up.
Yeah, and he's just it's the way he's shuffling around. He's got the axe. He hides the axe, and then does he put Huey Lewis on the news on, and then he starts doing this another music monologue about Huey Lewis and the news. Paul Allen thinks he's got some kind of little dog, a little chow, and he's like, no, is that a raincoat? Yes. And it's the whole thing is just.
I uncontrollably, when I was watching it, was laughing at this whole scene. Like, his dancing was all apparently not not scripted.
So it was all.
So it was just off the cuff by Christian Bale. So like when he moonwalks back towards the kitchen,
holding the axe and
when he's like doing the weird dance next to the CD player. But
try getting a reservation at Dorsia
now,
you stupid fuck.
And continues to sink an axe into his head. This is where I thought, when I was rewatching it, I thought that if this is made now, you probably see a bit more of the violence.
Yeah, because you see the blood splatter, don't you? But that's all you don't see.
Yeah, you see.
Else.
I mean, the sound of the axe being lodged into his head's quite gnarly, and then he falls on the floor, and then there's just like a pool of blood, and then he says that line about try and get a reservation now at Dorsia, and then just continues to hack at him, and then like blood obviously goes all over his face, and then after, is it straight after that? After he sits down, he pretty much just drags his body down the stairs through the hotel and into the back of a cab, and then Lewis sees him.
An interesting detail, but doesn't do anything as he's dragging the cadaver past.
I think I know what you're going to say next.
And then as he gets through the doorway and is dragging it to the trunk of the car, the stream of blood that has been following him from the apartment has miraculously disappeared.
Oh, I did not see that.
So you have two quite subtle instances of things not being exactly as you'd think they would be. Yeah. Two sort of like precursors to the revelation in
They're really subtle ways, aren't they?
Exactly.
Of doing it. They're not obvious. Well, obviously not obvious. I didn't spot it. I see the bloodline and stuff like that, and then I did not know that it disappears when you change the angle.
I said earlier that Bryce. What about the massacres in Sri Lanka, honey? I said that was my second favorite line. I tell a lie. Lewis Carruthers might be this bit where he goes, Patrick, where did you get that overnight bag? That might be my second favorite line in the film. My favorite line we'll get to, but my second favorite line in the film. And it's just it's brilliant because obviously Patrick sees Lewis and thinks that Lewis has clocked that he's dragging a body. Yeah. But Lewis is like he's like shocked at this amazing, and he goes, Jean-Paul Gaultier.
After that, from there he then goes over to Paul Allen's apartment, doesn't he? He's trying
Hasta la vista, baby.
He's basically trying to cover up him murdering him. So he goes to his apartment. He leaves a message, voice message.
Got away to London for a few days.
Awesome, and then he just whacks in some random clothes, and then just leaves his apartment. And then obviously we end up going back to Paul Allen's apartment a couple of times.
He also has a little monologue, doesn't he? And he says that he can't believe that Paul Allen has a better apartment than him.
Yeah.
And he's closer to the park, isn't he?
Yeah, so he overlooks the park. Yeah, that's quite an interesting line because then he's like, but then I calmed down after I realised that, or something like that. Like he was more worried about where he lived compared to him than he was trying to cover up a murder. He is insane because if the murders haven't happened, he's insane. But if he's more worried about where he's going, either way, it's not a good look for Patrick Bateman and how insane he actually is.
I would love. I'm sure this probably exists on the internet somewhere. It's a random sidebar. I'd love to see an edit of splicing Christian Bale's scenes from this into The Dark Knight and vice versa. She's like, "Were you mauled by a tiger?" It was a dog, Alfred. A big dog. So just put scenes from The Dark Knight into this and vice versa.
So after that, we're first introduced to the detective because Paul Allen, I don't know, it must have been a couple of days, but Paul Allen is missing. And I think is it his wife or his parents or something say that he's gone missing. So Willem Dafoe, detective Kimball,
yeah.
He comes around and he just starts asking him some questions, but weirdly seems like a really nice and a bit of a, not a dopey detective, but
again, this is all pointing to the revelation at the end that Patrick might have been imagining the whole thing, because he incriminates himself at multiple points throughout this conversation. He's clearly guilty as sin about something. He's incredibly degrading to Paul, and he talks about him in the past tense. It's insane. And Kimball just sort of sits there and smiles. I'm obviously not a trained investigator, right? But anybody could see that this guy was hiding something. Yeah. And he tries to usher him out at the end, and he says, I got a lunch, and it's 10:30. He says, I got a lunch in 20 minutes.
But also, is it at the 7 seasons? Something like that. Or
so
4 seasons. It's like, that's like really far away. It's like, no, there's a new one down here.
So unless his lunch is at 10:50 in the morning, he immediately... one of the things that I love, when Kimball comes into the room, he fakes this conversation.
Yes.
And he's talking about men's fashion advice. He goes, always tip the stylist 15%.
Not the owner.
No, not the owner of the salon. and then he frantically tries to put his magazines into the drawer.
Yeah, to show that he wasn't working whatsoever.
Topic of conversation.
There is a sorry, Dan.
No.
There is a take that William Dafoe knows that he's done the murder. And there's the bit where he like gets the CD out of his briefcase.
Yeah.
And he shines the light in his eyes. And there's no reaction.
Oh. And
there's supposed to be that, if you were kind of desensitized to the world, you would try and
blink
block it out, or you would blink, and he doesn't.
I didn't know. Is that in this bit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because there's twice that he comes back, because he comes back later. Well,
and then they go for dinner, and then they go to a club.
Yeah. Yeah. The detective in this is a bit, because he even starts just saying, "Oh no, that's not true. Actually, you were here." So he's like he's covering him up for him. He doesn't even need to.
This is what I mean. Patrick incriminates himself multiple times. He's so clearly, so clearly part of the whole Yale thing.
Oh, the Yale thing. Yeah, what was it? The closet homosexuals who do lots of cocaine. Oh,
where did Mr. Allen like to hang out? Hang out. He doesn't. He doesn't. He's just bizarre. The whole interaction is just completely weird.
Yeah.
And then after that, he
stomach crunches to Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
and then that's the first night with the prostitutes.
Yeah. So this is quite a. I think this is quite a horrid scene, and I feel like this one is possibly real. Out of all of them, it feels real.
Well, yeah, he doesn't murder either of them.
That's
at this point.
So so the next the stomach crunches to Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well kind of links towards something that he does later on. So he picks up a hooker, takes her back to his apartment. He's like, does he call himself Paul? He's like, I'm Paul and you're Christy. Yeah. So he's like giving obviously false names to this hooker. And then he invites another guest. Her name is Sabrina. I'm assuming she's a more upper class, like an escort more than a on the street hooker, right? Because he calls her. He says, I want blonde. I want a blonde woman.
He blonde. I can't stress that enough. Blonde. And then when they're in the bathtub, he says, "That's a very expensive bottle of Cristal you're drinking." And she just can't. He's just. And then this is my favorite line in the film, and I said this to you both before we started recording. And me and my friend Keenan, who was my friend who I referenced, who was also reading the book when I was in sixth form, we quote this to each other all the time. The doorbell rings when he's instructing the prostitute in his bath to clean her vagina.
I think I know what line you're going to say. I've got it written down as well.
He walks to the door, opens the door, and goes, "You've arrived." How lovely. As if it's like a prestige guest or a family friend. Yeah. It's someone he's never met before. She's an escort, and he's going to engage in a threesome with her minutes later.
Doesn't he also say, you're not really blonde either, or something like that?
Not quite blonde, are we? You've arrived. How lovely. So me and my friend, we quote that to each other quite a lot. And people, it's one of those things that's not, considering how much of a meme this film has become, and we are going to get onto this in our closing bit, how this film has been co-opted by some unsavory and unpleasant people on the internet, the whole Sigma culture and what it means to be a man and an alpha and all this sort of stuff. That quote isn't really mentioned a lot. So me and my friend, when we say it, we get odd looks.
It's quite a unique one.
It's quite a unique one. And then this is the bit where they're sat down and he's trying to impress them.
He's like, don't ask me what I do. Yeah. What do you do? And he's like, I work on Wall Street. And then they do not give a shit.
He smiles and goes, at Pearson Pierce. as if right. So they don't care or know, and then he tells them the name of the firm as if that's going to make either of them like go, oh
my God, yeah. Don't give a shit. Who is it that? So he has another music monologue here. Is this one Phil Collins?
Yes, because the second scene with the prostitutes is where he talks about Whitney Houston.
Yes,
because he's with somebody that he already knows.
Yeah,
and she laughs at him for listening to Whitney Houston.
Yeah, she's wetted herself.
But this is the we're getting ahead a bit, and I am aware that we are an hour and 30, so we might
got to take 10 minutes off anyway because of our beginning.
Yeah, that's true. But we might have to speed up just a little bit. But the second scene where he's talking about Whitney Houston is one of the only scenes in the film, aside from the ending, where he actually seems to show any real emotion. Yeah, and he's getting choked up talking about The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. But yeah, I don't know the artist that he's monologuing about.
I'm pretty sure this one's Phil Collins. And then so he starts talking and then he gets them to stand up, and he gets one of them to strip, and then she's like, Sabrina, take off your clothes and dance and all this stuff, and he's setting up a camera. And then he's like, Christy, get on the bed. And he just...
Sabrina, get on the bed and show Christy your asshole. Christy, don't just stare at it. Eat it.
That's what I have in my notes. Don't just stare at it. And then in brackets, butthole. Because that's...
Can you see? I'm starting to do his... Christian Bale has a very prominent lip. Yes, and when I do impressions of him, I know my impression is dog shit anyway, but I can't help myself. So, get down on the bed.
You say that. My cousin thought that our impressions throughout Trim's show, the last episode, Trim's show, episode 13, were very good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah. But yeah, he says to her, get down on the bed and show Sabrina your asshole. Don't just stare at it. Eat it.
It's so absurd.
Eating arse is another phenomena that was seen as particularly extreme in 2000, but is now, if Twitter will have you believe, quite commonplace. I'm not incriminating any of us at this table, but yeah.
So they end up having sex, and he's recording. This is where he's showing his muscles, looking at himself in the mirror, and all stuff like that. And then after, so they've done all they've.
me and Dan have just got the giggles now. Just stare at it.
Eat it. It's so stupid, but it's
I love it. He snaps earlier when one of them tries to no smoking in here.
Oh yeah. That's the other weird thing is he has this OCD about coasters. She goes to put a glass, Jean goes to put a glass down for the detective of water, and he's just like, coaster, boom. And she does it again. He has it's weird that he's got this OCD thing, but then he doesn't mind getting violent and bloody. It's
a very expensive bottle of Cristal you're drinking.
So after the sex scene where they're recording, and he's like, wave to the camera, Christy. Wave to the camera. So after they have a short sleep, they're all in bed, and then I think, is it Christy, the hooker, tries to take his watch.
And doesn't she say, can we leave? And he goes, we're not finished.
Oh no, so before that, so they're in bed, and he gets woken up by one of them trying to take his watch. And then he goes over to his desk drawer, opens his drawer, and there's all these implements in there.
I always thought, sorry, I might be wrong. I always thought that when she just rolled over in her sleep, then he just, because he's so protective of his watch, he reflect. It's almost like a muscle reflex.
It might be that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that she was trying to take it. I just thought that she just went to touch it. But he's so
she just
bizarre.
Rolled over, yeah.
He's so bizarre. He quickly pulls away.
So he gets all of the implements, and then he basically there was some knives and all these weird little sharp blades, and that's when she asks, "Oh, can we leave?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, we're not finished yet." And this is actually quite. I found this last bit of this scene actually the most disturbing out of the whole film.
This is where he gets under the covers and bites her.
No. So that's the second hooker prostitute scene. It's just that when he says we're not done yet, and then you watch them leaving, and they're stumbling around, and the more of the escort woman, Sabrina, he hands her money. She's physically, but she's got cuts and she's been battered, and the other hooker just takes the money and leaves. I just felt that chilling. That's what makes me feel like that whole scene might have actually happened. If you compare it to everything else, like you say, they haven't been murdered. Every time that they get there is a murder, it might not be, but that felt more believable to me, that scene. Mm-hmm. and then obviously what happens the next time the hooker's around, it kind of links. So
the next scene is possibly my favourite in the film. This is where they are out for a lunchtime reservation.
Again.
Again. He makes the bizarre comment about Ed Gein.
Yeah. Do you know what Ed Gein said about something about when it was like something about like what their head would look like on a stick?
Yeah. Well, again, this is another example of just the commonplace, horrendous attitudes that these guys have. They're talking about women in the most vile of ways. I'm not in any way condoning it, but if you're going to have a conversation like that, I would like to think that most people would at least be considerate to do it behind closed doors or out of earshot. But they are in broad daylight, in public, in front of other people, in a restaurant, talking about women as if they're slabs of meat, and it's just happening so commonplace.
It's weird. So as I was writing these down, I didn't really. It was weird. I didn't really. It might be just the fact that this is the way I perceived it, but I didn't really jot them down as like lunchtime. It felt to me like it was a gentleman's club.
Well, that's how they act.
Yeah, exactly that. And making those comments and just having basically focusing on those four men or three men made it feel more to me like it was an exclusive Wall Street club.
Well, I mean, yeah, there obviously are restaurants and lunch clubs in central London and in New York that are pretty much exclusively used by men of a certain status. So it could be one of those. But I like to think that those types of restaurants, like, it's an unofficial thing. Like, it's not men only, but it kind of is.
Yes.
But so he follows Lewis Carruthers into the bathroom.
It's from where Lewis goes, this is my new, look, have you seen my new business card? It's like he's trying to be one of the boys, isn't he?
Lewis,
he shows Bateman his new card, and then he walks off, and that's when he follows him into the toilet.
Doesn't every single one of their... but yeah, Lewis pulls out his business card, and correct me if I'm wrong, but every single business card in the film has, what is it,
Vice President.
Every single business card has Vice President on it, which I thought was great. But yeah, he pulls out his, and then Patrick follows him to the bathroom. Yeah. And this is another scene that me and my friend Keenan quote quite... We haven't done it a lot recently, but we used to quote it all the time. He follows Lewis into the bathroom with the intent of killing him there and then in the middle of the bathroom, which shows how his mental faculties are getting worse. Because at least
impulsiveness.
At least in the other instances that we've seen so far, he's killed people either in closed environments or he's killed people that wouldn't be out of place being dead. And that sounds a really horrible thing to say, but most people wouldn't be 100% surprised at the death of a homeless person, but if an executive Wall Street guy was found dead in a bathroom of a restaurant,
top restaurant,
exactly. So he follows Lewis into the bathroom and he goes to strangle him from behind, and the music builds and swells and it's really tense. And you think Lewis is either going to turn around and put up a fight or scream, but Lewis pulls down the front of his glove and kisses his wrist, and then turns and looks over his shoulder, what he's trying to be seductively, and goes, "Patrick, why here?" and Patrick is too stunned to speak.
Yeah.
He can't. He's repulsed.
Yeah,
Absolutely repulsed. And Lewis says to him, "Come on, Patrick, I've seen the way you look at me," or something like that. And Patrick is so disgusted that he washes his hands.
Well, he's not even washing his hands. Yeah,
with his gloves on.
Yeah.
He washes his hands with his gloves on. Now, I said in our preamble, if you can remember, nearly 2 hours ago, that Bret Easton Ellis is gay. And I obviously can't, I'm not a gay man myself, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'd imagine that this type of repulsion from heterosexual men towards gays, i.e. the idea of straight men seeing all homosexuals as predators, is any first-hand experiences that Ellis might have had with that type of interaction is in this scene. Because Patrick reacts in a way that is obviously disgusting, but is not that kind of revulsion from straight men towards gay men is quite common in lad culture and men's media and stuff like that. This sort of like, not just politely turning him down like you would a woman giving you an unwanted advance. He's disgusted by it the idea
He
of
just wants to get out, doesn't he?
like the idea of a man finding him attractive disgusts him. If it was a woman that was maybe hitting on him, he might make some snarky remark or something, but he certainly wouldn't go and wash his hands
wash his
gloves.
with
Yeah.
his gloves on. And he runs out, and this is the first example that we get of the famous quote.
Oh yeah, this is where the first one is.
Yeah,
Go on.
this first thing. I have to return some
videotapes.
But he whispers it when he says it to no, he shouts it at Lewis, and then when he says it to Evelyn when he's breaking up with her in the restaurant,
Yeah.
he leans.
Yeah.
Have to return some videotapes. But yeah, that's the first example of that.
Yeah.
An excuse that sadly wouldn't fly in 2025 because nobody returns
Yeah.
stuff to
No.
rental places anymore.
It's really sad.
It is.
Pour one out for rental stores.
Wasn't going to drink tonight, then I thought of Blockbuster.
Not a sponsor.
They're not a sponsor. So after he storms out, we're back at work at his place of work, and this is the second meeting with Donald Kimball, the detective. And this is basically he just wants to confirm where he was on a certain date. But again, the detective was just saying, "You weren't there. Oh, you were actually here." And he again. Either that this is another sign pointing towards that Patrick Bateman is just making this all up in his head, or this detective is a really shit detective and just giving him alibis again. But this is where he gives him all the information, and this is where like they arrange the lunch. This is the bit where he has the CD. He's like, "Oh, have you heard this? Is great. I haven't heard it yet. Do you like it?" And it's Huey Lewis in the news. He's like, no, Huey sounds too black for me. And he's just like, is it because the detective he sees him as a lower form of class that, I can't listen to Huey Lewis now because somebody lower, I know someone lower than me that listens to it.
That's the way I perceived it.
Yeah. So after that, Patrick's having sex with Christy. And then again, she talks about marriage and he's going to see her at Easter. This scene, where is this scene, are we right in thinking that she's possibly thinking about committing suicide?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because she's like in this kind of like, I don't think she's even drugged. She's just in this kind of stupor.
Like a haze.
Yeah, like a haze.
Yeah.
But we never really find out, do we?
No.
Nothing. That's the last time we kind of think we see or hear any conversations to do with Chrissy or his affair with her, right? All right. So then again, they're at another nightclub. This is where Bateman. I can't remember Justin Theroux's character's name. Where he's doing drugs with him I can't remember the character's name, but anyway,
Bryce.
So, Bateman and Bryce are doing drugs in the bathroom, and he's like, what is it he calls it? He's like, basically he's saying it's really weak cocaine, and it's we're gonna have to do so much of this that we'll get there in the end. And then starts having an argument with a guy who pops over the stalls and goes, "Can you guys shut up and try and do drugs over here?" And then he just started arguing, but you're in a nightclub, so you can't hear anyone anyway. And this is where. This is where I was like, okay, this has got to be where he is definitely making this up, where he's talking to a woman and he says to her, "I'm into murders and executions," and she thinks he says mergers and acquisitions.
See, that's where I'm going to disagree with you, because I think this is the one example where, because they are in a nightclub, she could have just misheard him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. And even still, the brilliance of this film is that it's if what he's doing is actually happening, it highlights this sort of general apathy that's just set in society, whether it's exclusive to New York at that time or that's just how society was or is at the moment. But the idea is obviously that if, as worrying as this is, if somebody said that to you in real life, like you said earlier, most people would just brush it off as a weird joke.
Yeah.
And that's what his solicitor thinks at the end when he confesses on the mobile phone.
Yeah.
He thinks it's a joke. If somebody came up to you at work and said, "Oh, I'm into murders and executions," you just sort of laugh and think you'd obviously think that guy's a bit of a weirdo. He's got a warped sense of humour.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think that it was an actual confession of murder.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
But he makes this again, these flippant confessions to random people in public. And then is this the scene following that where he murders the two prostitutes?
So it's not quite that bit. I think he the woman that he's speaking to in the club, they end up going outside and having another chat, and she basically says, "You think I'm dumb," kind of thing, and he's like, "No." And then this is what's so, again, another brilliant thing about it. You don't actually know if he is murdered or not, because the next morning he's sniffing that girl's hair. He's got a lock of that girl's hair, and he's sniffing it in his office, and it's like, well, did he just like cut that off of her, or has he actually killed? Like, you don't actually know, which is another like, you don't know if he is making it up or not. That's one of the kills where I'm a bit confused. Like, could he have done that? Because why on earth does he have a lock of her hair and is he sniffing it? But then so that's it work, and then Gene walks in, and he puts the lock of hair in his pocket, and he's doing a crossword, but all it says is like, he's just repeated bone and something else. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's all words to do with like viscera and gore and everything. This is when he invites her to his apartment.
Yeah, he invites her out to lunch. He's like, "Where do you want to go, Gene?" "No, pick anywhere. I can get a reservation for anywhere." And she says, "Dorsia," and he's like, "For fuck's sake."
The way you described that, it makes me think of the David Brent blind date. David? He's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake."
So she says Dorsia, and then he calls him up there, and then he's like, "Hi, can I have a table for 9? We're sorry, we don't have any tables booked. 9 o'clock?" And he's like, "You're not listening to me. You don't. 9 o'clock. See you then." And then he just hangs
She
up.
says, "You didn't even give him a name."
Yeah, they know me. Just they know me. So they've booked a night out. So then it goes straight into Gene at Patrick's apartment, because he basically says, "Where's something nice?" Or I can't. One of those like kind of comments that he said to her before.
Yeah.
So they're in Patrick's apartment, and he asks, "Do you want some sorbet?" And then he opens the fridge, and the woman's head's in his fridge.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, well, is this one that he actually killed? Under his face. It could have been. Oh.
I was sorry. For those listening, they both looked at me as I was going to say something. I was just adjusting my mic. I do apologise. This is where they have the interaction where he says, "You can always be thinner." She says, "But she makes some sort of comment like, "You look perfect."
Yeah,
and he says,
you're really yeah.
He says, "You can always be thinner." And it's like, he's just, it's insane how vain and vapid and self-absorbed he is.
Yeah.
And he walks up behind her with the nail gun. He's deliberating how he's going to kill her.
Because he's like stroking knives and
then the phone rings and he gets interrupted. Now, do you think, because this was something I thought about earlier, I've always thought, and this might be from some material in the book that I'm forgetting, because again, it's been nearly 10 years since I read it. I left sixth form in 2018 or whatever. Do you think he spared Jean because he does have deep down some sort of affection towards her? Or do you think he was just interrupted and then it didn't? Because my thought process has always been that he deep down, Jean is different and he likes her, and that's why he's invited her to dinner, and he's battling with these urges throughout the course of the evening. However, you going into detail about the conversation on the phone, what was his plan? Because she's not some like Xanax popping like drongo like Courtney is, who's gonna be duped into going to a different restaurant. He can't just take her to Barcadia or wherever it is and say, "We're at Dorsia," because she'll be like, "What the fuck? No, we're not. This is not Dorsia." So he didn't have a reservation. What was he going to do with her? Was he going to take her out and lie to her? Was he going to cancel at the last minute and say, "We're going to go here"?
It's really confusing, because
is
it a lucky thing that he was stopped?
So this is my thing. Now I'm thinking maybe he did genuinely plan to kill Jean all along, and he was just interrupted by the phone call.
Yeah, but then it's difficult, because then would a phone call really have stopped him? It's a really interesting scene when you think about it in that context, that he's done all this, and like you say, it's not the typical kind of girl that he takes out. She's more on the ball and not on drugs or any of that, and I don't know. I think I genuinely don't know.
Unless there is an answer in the book, which we might have to revisit, and I think there are plans that we might talk about the book in some way at some point. However that comes, it doesn't really matter, but we will revisit the book at some point. There might be a line or a bit of info in that makes it clear he planned to kill her or not. But in the film, we never get an answer. No. And it just cuts to the next scene, which is where
Lunch with detective?
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
yeah.
I thought it was the bit where he dumped Evelyn, but yeah.
Oh no, so the next one is he's having lunch with the detective, and when he's got his meal, he's just like, I've never seen so much salt go on a plate, because he's just not really trying to think of what excuse he can make up. Or
It does remind me of Jeff Goldblum putting sugars in his coffee in The Fly. And Gina Davis says, "Do you take coffee with your sugar?" It's just like throwing salt onto his plate.
And this is where we find that it's not really confirmed, but he says that Paul Allen was seen in London. So we don't really know if Paul Allen is dead or not. But throughout the film, there's always so many times where people are mistaken for, especially Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman was mistaken for Marcus. He's mistaken for someone else, and so could it just be that people think it's Paul Allen, but it genuinely isn't?
Hey, Halberstram, nice tie. I do love that line. There are so many quotable lines in this. But yeah, he has dinner with Kimball.
Yep.
They go out to a club, and he's sort of like, Kimball's talking to him, and he's like just completely phased out. And that has become a bit of a meme.
Yeah.
That gif of Kimball just talking at him, and he's just sort of like not really listening. He's giving like these really rude, ignorant looks back at him.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is when he dumps Evelyn. And he's
No, it's not.
sorry. I'm
The
rushing. I'm rushing.
Let's see.
Was I rushing or was I dragging?
Oh, call back. Call back.
So the next scene is the other hooker scene.
Oh yeah.
So this is where he pulls up to Christy, the woman that he got from the street last time. He pulls back up. He's like, it's not going to be like last time. And she was like, oh, a doctor told me that I should sue or something like that. And then he gives her a load of money, and then she walks off. And then the car just keeps driving, and he's whistling at her, and he gives her like he's like fanning money at her, and she gets back in the car. And then this is where, but he actually takes him to Paul Allen's apartment this time.
And much to his chagrin,
They
his
love
annoyance,
it. Yeah.
they prefer
Yes.
the one because it's a different woman this time.
We assume it's a friend, because the way they talk is more like friends, isn't it? But we don't get told if it is a friend or anything like that.
And this is the bit, like I said earlier, where he goes on this really. It's the only part of the film, other than the confession, where I think he's speaking sincerely. He goes into this sort of like monologue about The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston, and he starts to tear up, if I remember correctly, from like at the end of it. And the girls, because they both had a bit to drink.
Or doesn't he say to him like, I just want to see you two getting on?
But they start laughing at him. And she says, you have a Whitney Houston CD? Like or whatever. Back in, it wouldn't have been CD, would it?
Yeah. It was all CDs, yeah.
That's wild, because Laserdisc was still the main... VHS was obviously the main format for video. But then after video, it became Laserdisc. Then after Laserdisc, or around the same time, it was mini disc. And then DVDs, which uses relatively similar technology to CDs, became a thing. But that's like nearly 20 years later. That's mad to me.
Something recently kept popping up because it was recently the anniversary of the first film ever on DVD. I can't remember what film it was.
I know that the last film in America released on VHS was A History of Violence.
Yes.
I think the
first DVD, but it was basically it was the anniversary of the first DVD being released, and like the advert on VHSs for DVDs was like it's a movie of the size of a CD and all this stuff, and it was all about it's a disc that plays films, and that everyone's like, what the fuck, this is mad. But yeah, it was CD. It was still compact disc. Yeah,
which astounds me, because that's just crazy. Did you guys ever have a Laserdisc player?
No, Laserdiscs are those big fucking fuckers.
Yeah. I know somebody who collects Laserdiscs, and you can get the artwork on the front of some Laserdisc is amazing. We'll bookshelf this conversation for
that's a physical media.
For our physical media episodes. Ooh. But yeah, he has the prostitutes over, and then
he's drugged them as well, isn't he? Because she's like, this tastes funny, and he's obviously drugged them, and then they start having another threesome, and then the hooker crawls out of bed. She's basically planning to leave, and then she hears like kind of like muffled screaming, turns around, and that's when she starts seeing blood just like soaking the white sheets. And then I think he stabbed her in the side whilst like eating, like chewing her or something, because he's got blood on his mouth.
I think he'd bitten her. I can't.
Yeah,
remember,
I thought.
She throws back the covers and he jumps out.
Yeah. And then he starts chasing her, and then she kicks him in the face. She's like, not the face, not the fucking face, you bitch. And he's just, because you're covered in blood, it doesn't fucking matter. And then this is where she's running down the hallways, slamming on doors, screaming help.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like no one lives in that apartment block
Really
whatsoever.
reminiscent of Halloween, John Carpenter, when she's running from door to door in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But again, this is yet another clue as to whether or not it's actually happening, because surely somebody would have
heard that.
It's a big difference in a suburban neighborhood where the houses are quite a distance apart for a girl to be running. But in an apartment like that, if you're screaming and running after somebody with a chainsaw, you'd like to think that at least one person would poke their head out. And
which I think brings it back to when he was watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes,
or doing crunches.
Yeah.
It's
he's just
pretty
bolting.
much the ending of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Where
he's chasing a girl with a fucking chainsaw in an apartment building
with only shoes on.
Yeah.
He had time to put his running shoes on to chase her with a chainsaw. So she starts bolting it down like the stairwell, doesn't she? And he's just like dangling the chainsaw and following her, and then just lets go. And then basically, as she hits the bottom, the chainsaw hits her in the side, and he just shouts down the apartment block, and then she's dead. I think that's too over the top for it to be real. In my mind, that's the way I saw it. I was like, that's a bit, but then we never see her again.
This is when he basically loses it from this point.
He's lost it.
From this point on.
And now is the scene where he's dumping Evelyn.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So he's in it, and he's currently drawing like a horror, like of him killing Christy, isn't he?
It's at Crayon. That's the restaurant that they're at. Because he says, I can get us a reservation at Crayon or something like that. And he's drawing on the tablecloth.
Yeah.
Himself with a chainsaw as a stick figure.
Yeah. Okay. And he's stabbed. It's a woman being stabbed in the side. So it makes you think, is he thinking about what he done last night or what he wanted to do? All these contradictions.
The breakup is hilarious.
Because she tries to be upset, but then in the end, when he walks out, she's like, oh, okay.
You're not particularly important to me. That's what he says. And then she's, but where? I have to return some videotapes.
Is that only twice that he says it?
Yeah.
I swear he says it like 4 times when I first...
That's what I thought.
I thought it was like 4
Well, it
times.
might be more than one, but I just know that the first time is with Lewis, and it's almost halfway through the film.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, he breaks up with her, and he basically says like, oh, your friends aren't my friends, or something like that.
Oh, you can have my friends.
Yeah, he says you can have my friends.
Yeah. So then after that, so this is kind of like the big action scene, really. So he's withdrawing cash, and then the ATM says, "Feed me a cat," because and then he puts a gun to his head, and then someone sees him with it. Then he shoots that person, and then he starts running away, and then he gets and then he gets chased by police. And then he tries getting into cars, setting all the alarms off. Then he runs down an alleyway. He's still being chased. And then he shoots at police, kills one police officer with a gun, and then blows the other car up, killing the other police officer.
Does a double take at his snub-nosed revolver, and he's like...
Can it do that? Yeah. Did it just do that? He continues running. He then gets to a building, gets called Mr. Smith, another name that somebody sees him as. And then he shoots the receptionist.
Shoots the doorman. Shoots him.
Yeah, then runs through the building, goes into like the, what are those, like the revolving doors, sees that a janitor saw him, keeps revolving in, shoots him, and then revolves back out of the door. Then he goes into another building, which looks exactly the same as the building he was just in. And then you think he's going to kill the doorman there, but he's actually just pulls his pen out and then signs his name to say it checked in. Turns out it was his place of work. So then he goes up into his office. He can hear helicopters, and then this is where he calls his lawyer, confessing to doing everything, saying that he taped the deaths, he's eaten some people, he's killed about 40 people, and he starts getting really upset because he thinks that this is it. This is the end for him.
It's a really grimy, grossly intimate, grotty scene. It's like blocked completely close up on his face the entire
it's
time.
horrible, isn't it?
He's like
sweating.
Yeah, really, really sweaty. The way he's gripping. The Foley work in it is great because you can hear the leather as he's grasping the receiver of the phone. He's like constantly wiping sweat off his brow, and he's just like rambling this incoherent stream of consciousness. And then we find out the next day that his lawyer, his solicitor, thought it was a joke.
Yeah. But was it? So the next day he basically the next day we're back in his apartment and we're watching him do his routine, but this time we're not getting the monologue, which is kind of you that's what you thought you might expect. That we get no monologue whatsoever, and then he goes to Paul Allen's apartment because there's all these bodies there that he thinks he's got to get rid of because one of the things we missed was when he's the second hooker scene where she's running away. As she's run through the apartment, she finds that there are bodies hanging up in a closet. But we don't actually specifically know who those people are. So then he goes back to Paul Allen's place, and then he walks in, and it's empty, and there's just decorating stuff there. Two people being shown the apartment as if it was like nothing happened, and it was as if Paul Allen never even lived there. And then the woman confronts him like, "Oh, you my 2 o'clock?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "I'm looking for Paul Allen." And she's like, "Don't know what you're talking about." So that's again the first flag of did what we see actually happen. Then after that he leaves, and then he calls his office from a payphone. Gene answers, and he's gone mental. He starts like crying and shouting, "I can't make it in!" And he's gagging. He's like throwing his fucking coat everywhere, and he just starts calling her a stupid bitch and laughing. This is full on mental breakdown moment. And then this is where Gene goes into Bateman's office, finds his diary, starts flicking through it, and then we see one photo that's one drawing that he's done that's a bit weird to begin with. And then we go back to, I've put it down as Men's Club again, but we're back at the restaurant we were at the beginning of the film, right? And then this is where Bateman sees his lawyer and then asks about he's like, "Did you get my message?" And then like you say, he thought it was funny. And he's like, "This is the other meme, isn't it? Why is it impossible, you stupid bastard?" Or something like that.
Why isn't it possible?
That's it,
you
yeah.
stupid bastard.
Yeah. And
he goes. It's the way his lawyer doesn't blink or react at all. His lawyer, it's just not. It just looks. It's insane. It's
and then he tells him that he had dinner with Paul Allen in London
twice last week.
Yeah.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
That's again. There are so many that have spawned from this film. I mean, it's mad.
I think I told this story in our anniversaries episode. I've lost track. We're at that wonderful point where we've done so many. It's hard to remember what you've said, which is a little bit worrying. We've got to be better at, or at least I've got to monitor what I say, because I don't want to say anything that is like too extreme or unsavory or whatever. But I might have told you guys this story, and it's a bit of a diversion. But the infamous Christian Bale rant video from Terminator Salvation is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. And if you guys that are listening, if there's anybody listening at all and you haven't seen it, I implore you to check it out. He is doing a scene with Bryce Dallas Howard, and the DP is apparently in the background adjusting a light or something like that. And what I think is great about it is Christian Bale stays in character for the entire rant, except when he swears in English. Sorry, I say in English, in a British accent. I do apologize. He's like, "I want you off the set, you prick." He's just every other swear word is in a real sort of Cockney Londoner, because he has quite a when he talks.
Yeah,
normally,
when he talks, something is quite. Yeah, I know exactly. What you mean.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Family Guy did a parody of it where they use actual audio from the clip, which is where Peter plays. Never had a DP act like this, man. It's great. If you haven't listened to it, please go away.
I remember when that first came out. I remember everyone was talking about it,
and he had to do an apology.
Yeah. We're pretty much near the end now. So yeah, his lawyer does. His lawyer thinks his name is Davis.
Yeah.
Another name that. So
you don't.
So is Patrick Bateman actually his name? It's one of those, like, you could ask questions about this film continuously.
So the only 3 people that call him, correct me if I'm wrong, are Kimball, Evelyn, and Jean.
Yeah.
Everybody else thinks he's somebody else or mistakes him from somebody else. Courtney is so drugged out of her mind that it kind of makes sense. But everybody thinks he's either Davis, Halberstram, Marcus Halberstram, Smith, and even at the Christmas party, Evelyn comes up to him and goes, "Why was he calling you Marcus?" and he just goes, "Have a holly jolly Christmas." He's like, he doesn't even acknowledge it. Yeah. It's insane.
So go on.
I've got a take with the woman at the apartment building.
He's got a hot take. What, the
Hot
real
take.
estate woman?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she knows that he murdered those people. I think that she not in on it, but I think that if you look at the scene, neither of them blink in that scene, and I think she's a New York real estate.
She's seen an opportunity,
and I think that she walked into that apartment. I think that she wants the money from selling the apartment, and yeah.
Well, again,
That's a really interesting
that is a really interesting hot take, and if it is true, it would link back to what I said earlier about this general apathy that people have. Like this, it's really morbid to think about, but life goes on. If you've got an apartment where people have been murdered in, at the end of the day, it's still an apartment that you can sell.
It's the way that she kind of says to him, like, "Never come back here," but she's so calm.
Yes,
you know,
it's a bit haunting, really.
It's unnerving.
Yeah.
This film, to me, when I was younger, and I'd heard, like I said, my dad had mentioned it one or twice, and it's one of those things that you would see crop up in Empire and Total Film and online. I always thought of it as more of a conventional slasher. Like you said earlier, Dan, you expected it to be more violent or more scary, and it's really not.
No.
And the brilliant thing about this film is, and I wouldn't want them to have done this, and I wouldn't want to see this, but you could take out all of the scenes of violence, and it would still be an entertaining and considerate, thoughtful film. It would still work as this, like, complete satire of yuppie culture, of how insane the 80s was, consumerism, all that sort of stuff that it's saying would still be there. The violence just adds another layer to it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And the horror isn't actually in the violence. It's in those bizarre exchanges that he has with, like, the realtor, his solicitor, the uncanny uneasiness of it. A scene that really unnerved me, and I'd forgotten about it until today, and you just reminded me, is when Jean goes into his office and starts finding the evidence in the drawer.
Well, we'll just quick, because that's the last scene. So basically, after he has this conversation with the lawyer, it goes back to the office, and she's looking through more pages, and I'm pretty sure, like, some of the drawings are horrible, like, of whatever he's drawing, but I'm pretty sure some of them are drawings of what we saw.
Yeah. Again, things like the score, that is very minimalist. I think it was by John Cale. If I'm wrong, somebody will correct me, and I do apologise. But again, it's. I was expecting, when I first watched it to have quite a bombastic, operatic. Think about, like, Howard Shore for Seven or Silence of the Lambs, something akin to that. It's really minimalist. Loads of the music is actual diegetic music that they listened to in the 80s and everything. But so much of it is a subversion of what you expect this film to be. I went into it when I was 13, 14. I was a huge fan of, like, the Thomas Harris novels and stuff, and Dexter was on the TV. I was expecting it to be something like a Hannibal Lecter type film, you know, where the violence was the focus, and he was either going to be this really, really comically over-the-top, twisted villain, or this sort of, like, anti-hero that you're supposed to warm to. But he's neither. He's not this, like, righteous killer like Dexter or Hannibal Lecter that you can kind of root for, and he's not some Francis Dolarhyde, John Doe, like, evil villain. He's neither one of those sort of slasher archetypes, and the film isn't a conventional slasher film.
I was going to say, that's what makes it so makes it really unique. It's also unique in the fact that there's no one to root for. There is no hero who tries to catch him. It is just literally about him and his psyche.
Maybe
That is
maybe
it.
I should have had that as my opening take at the start of the episode, because it seems like more of an opener than a closer. But yeah, that is pretty much the end of the film. So I think what we'll do is we'll go around and get our final. Do we think it actually happened? Yes or no, and why? So Charlie just nodded, which to me seems like he's ready to go. Do we think Charles Westwood was Patrick Bateman imagining this or not?
Based on what I said about the woman at the end, or the real estate agent, I think everything happened. Yeah. And that's the only... That and the director has said that everything happened. But yeah, that's the only reason I can kind of think of.
I didn't know that Mary Herron had said it actually happened. I've seen a couple of interviews with her and with Christian Bale, but I didn't know that she actually said that when she
I'll
was...
try and find the
Okay.
what I saw and send it.
Cool. Dan, what about you?
I think it's a mix. I think that, like I said before, I think the one where he's sniffing the woman's hair the next morning after being with her and her head being in the fridge felt like a real one to me. I think that the violence he did towards the hookers in the first night that he had them was real. So I think that some murders were and some murders weren't. It's also quite funny because you say about like his last sentence in the whole film is this confession has meant nothing, which makes you think that maybe it was his confession to murdering all those people.
Yeah.
I think some did happen. So this sounds like we're going to probably end up being like a bit of 50, but I think some did, some didn't. I think some were fantastical, fantasy, and others were he genuinely did murder someone.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I agree. Maybe not to the same extent. I think all the murders happen, but I think towards the end of the film, the events like him blowing up the squad car and stuff like that, and the ATM talking to him is obviously his mind making fantastical leaps and embellishments of events. But I do think he has killed people, and I think the point is that they are, like I said earlier, it's more disturbing if it has happened, because it's highlighting just how genuinely desensitized everybody in this film is to acts of violence, which is obviously talking about what life was like in the 80s in America and everything, and unfortunately what life is still like now, just how switched off people have come towards violence. And the thing is, right, this is why I led with, because this was my point, I always had this point in mind when we started the episode, but I opened with my sort of breakdown of Bryce and everybody in the restaurant being really racist and just disgusting to begin with. They haven't imagined anything, and I doubt Patrick would go out of his way, because that doesn't affect or inflate his ego in any way. He would have no reason to make up that his friends are dickheads. Yeah. His friends are racist. His friends are sexist and misogynistic. His friends probably, maybe not to the same extent as him, but probably violent behind closed doors to their partners or prostitutes. Why would he make any of that up? What reason would he have to imagine Bryce talking about Jews in the way that he does, or talking about women in the way that he does? His reaction to Lewis seemed genuine as well. I think the whole point is it's showing you just how disgusting everybody's attitudes were in that era, and how apathetic everybody was. And the point that Ellis was trying to make, maybe I'm making a leap here, but the point that I think Ellis was trying to make is you could drop this Hannibal Lecter type Dexter serial killer into the middle of 80s Wall Street, and everybody around him would be so self-centered and apathetic that they wouldn't care. They'd just take it either as a joke, or they'd just be switched off to it. Unless it impacts them directly, what reason would they have to care?
No, it's a very
So I think we all kind of
agree.
We all kind of agree. Charlie
100%
100% thinks he did it. I think he did it, and maybe his brain was taking leaps towards the end, and you think maybe some did and some didn't. But I'm glad that we all came down, because I've always thought that imagined endings were a bit of a cop out.
No, I completely agree.
They work in some stories.
They do. But no, for this, I think the culture around him and everything, that it would be hard to say that he didn't do at least one or two murders. It'd be very hard to say that he didn't, especially because it shows throughout the film just how easy it is to get away with it.
If you had to pick a favourite Christian Bale film, I'm putting you on the spot here a bit. What would it be and why?
I'm not sure.
Because
I do quite like him, or obviously one also for the fighter. I do quite like him in that.
You and I said last week that we really like The Machinist.
Oh shit, yeah.
Because we haven't spoken about his bodily transformation.
No,
Because
we'd have to do a Christian Bale separate
episode.
episode.
Yeah. He does have an insane physique in this film.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
great.
it's incredible. Yeah. I'll probably, now you've said The Machinist, I'll probably say The Machinist, just because that is a haunting role. Oh, yeah, probably either that or Reign of Fire. Him and Matthew McConaughey fighting dragons in London. What about you,
Charlie? Have you got one?
Either this or The Prestige, I think.
Oh my
yeah, I
god,
forgot about that.
I do love that.
Yeah.
That's got a great Christian Bale voice. People love to talk about Robert Pattinson's voice, and he does put his vocal cords through the ringer a lot. But Christian Bale is also really good at doing different regional voices and stuff.
God, I actually do really like his Vice as well.
Yeah,
He's really good in Vice, just because
Yeah.
I just love the way what's the guy's name again that he plays?
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney, yeah. Just his voice of Dick Cheney is very, I don't know, it was just weirdly not nice to listen to, but compelling the way he does it.
Well, yeah, his people give his voice in the Batman films when he is Batman a lot of shtick. I think it works in those films, but his voice as Christian Bale is quite understated. His voice is Bruce Wayne. I was going to say he's I was going to say he's Patrick Bateman at first, and I corrected myself. But yeah, his voice is, I don't know. He's very good.
Mm.
I like it.
Is that your favourite?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Prestige is a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one too,
Yeah.
actually.
It was a dog, Alfred.
Well,
A big dog. More copycats last night, Alfred, with guns. Why don't you hide him and take the night off?
Good Mark.
I saw a child playing with a ruby the size of a tangerine. The bandit had been throwing them away. Well, why steal them, Alfred? It's so great. What do you expect me to? I can carry on.
Oh, what you were going to?
Some men can't be bought, bullied, or bargained with. Some men just want to watch the world burn. The Dark Knight is great.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
banging, yeah. Is there anything else we want to add? Do we want to say any more on the? How do we feel like the apparent new version is going to go?
I think this film holds up, and I was quite disappointed to hear that they were remaking it, because I think it's as poignant today.
Well, we
as it
talked
was
about it, didn't we?
There is a little sidebar that I want to do as like an extra added on to the end of this, but you have to look for it.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we'll do our bit.
Yeah,
and then we'll
and
pause
then
and
we'll
then
watch it.
My whole thing on it is like, is there, and I have this approach when we're doing these episodes. I think, is there anything more to say? Now, Bret Easton Ellis is obviously a queer author. Mary Harron is a female director, which obviously is a female director in a highly male-dominated sphere. So you've got two already nuanced perspectives, or at least perspectives that go against the typical voice that is making these types of films in Hollywood, right? Luca, I don't want to butcher his second name, the Italian director who did Call Me By Your Name, he's a gay man. So I think he might have a way to spin this with a different perspective that maybe Mary Harron didn't have, and he might put some sort of queer lens through it. I don't know if that's particularly a film that I want to see. I don't think that's a film that I particularly would be able to relate to, again, not as a queer person. And building on from what Charlie has said, I don't know if there's anything necessary more to be said that this film didn't say already. But if they were to modernize it and set it against Wall Street in 2025, then that's, I think, sort of, you could very easily hold a mirror up to the attitudes of today, which brings me on to the point I wanted to sort of kind of end this episode with.
Go for it.
And by the way, me saying that that's not a film that I particularly want to see, that's not me saying that I hate gay movies or anything. That's just I don't know if I particularly want to see another version of American Psycho when one this good exists, right?
Yeah.
But in recent years, the Patrick Bateman character has become a sort of a figurehead for very questionable figures online. The sort of, it's quite, for a lot of people, I think it's a harmless bit of a joke. The Sigma Alpha meme. You've seen this. There's a still from this. I think it's the first meeting he has with Kimball, where he sat in his office in his shirt and suspenders, that got photoshopped to have like an exaggerated jaw, and it became a bit of a meme online. This is like the alpha male. This is what peak masculinity looks like. And it was a bit of a joke at first, but then you've had figures like Andrew Tate or whoever that sort of has run, maybe not with that meme directly, but the Patrick Bateman character has become closely associated with those types of voices online. I see a lot of edits on TikTok. I see a lot of memes about it on Twitter. And the worrying thing is, like I said earlier, the whole point of this film is that Patrick Bateman is a loser. He's not someone that is aspirational. You should not watch this film and think, I want to be like Patrick Bateman at all. And yet there is hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young men around the world who unironically aspire to this, at least the version of Patrick Bateman that has been adopted online by these types of critics. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly.
You guys have seen the types of things, these sorts of memes, like even if it's like an ironic one at first, like how to be an alpha, invest in this or do this, wake up by this point, and they have clips of Patrick Bateman in the background. Even if there's 10, 5, 1% of people who can't see that that's ironic, it's a little bit concerning. Yeah. And I think Harry would say the same thing if he was here.
100%.
Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Have you seen that this meme, this trend?
I think it's. I haven't seen that meme particularly, but I think we spoke about it pretty much towards the beginning of this episode. Is that this film has predicted a lot of what's happening right now, and I don't think it meant to, which I think what has helped it to stand up and still be such a good film today, because you can relate to it today. If a new film was to be made, it'd be doing it in the present time, not predicting something that could happen in 20 years' time.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. If you do me a favor, Dan, just quickly Google. We have a desktop open. Google the word Sigma. Just Google it. I guarantee you that within a couple of scrolls, there will be a picture of Patrick Bateman on Google Images, and it will prove my point. Because the word Sigma is meant to mean like an alpha male. It's obviously from the Greek alphabet, but it's sort of, if you go to images, it might come up. Type in Sigma male, sorry, because that's just come up with the brand.
There, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's literally the third one down. You've got Patrick Bateman with his fingers together.
Yeah. Or if you Google Sigma male, I'm sure it'll come up with even more. Yeah. It's Christian Bale, Patrick Bateman, this sort of idea that the behaviours that he exhibits in the film, particularly towards Jean and towards service staff, being rude, maybe not being a murderer, but the attributes of him being like cold, detached, rude, vain, image obsessed. These are the types of qualities that certain people online. I am in no way qualified, nor do I want to try and talk about masculinity on this podcast, and that's not what this is about. But I have just, I find it strange that the same way that Tyler Durden has been adopted by certain people, I find it strange that a film that is so, if you actually took the time to watch it, is so obviously against these attitudes, has been adopted by people who are using the Patrick Bateman character as like an icon for these behaviours. Yeah.
I think that rounds up quite nicely.
Well said.
Yeah, no, I do apologise. I didn't want to end on a dour note, but I feel like we have a responsibility in 2025 100%. If you're going to talk about something that is... And there might be people, if they're listening, to have expected us at least once to talk about the Sigma Alpha male trend.
I think the more this podcast goes on and the more films... There's going to be certain films that we end up talking about that will have connotations or impacts in our daily lives that we will end up needing to talk about. I think it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Exactly. It'd be the exact same. I'd be saying similar things if we were talking about Taxi Driver or Joker or these sorts of things where people could potentially take the wrong message from them.
So I don't think you're wrong in making those comments at all, because it's inevitable. especially with films like this that are showing that they're just as relevant today as they were 25 years ago.
Yeah. 25 years. This film
It's
came out the
mad.
same
It's
year
crazy.
I was born.
That's crazy. Fucking hell. It's as old as you. That's
Yeah.
mad. Jesus. Right. So just a quick couple of plugs. Instagram at the Missing Scene Pod. Please do give us a follow. Share
Tell
it.
your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your family. Hide your kids. Hide your wife. I don't know why I had that in my head. We are on X as at Missing Scene Pod. Letterboxd, Ollie, you are?
OJB, all caps, or Ollie Bowen, but I think it's easier just to type in OJB, all caps.
See Westwood.
I am Daniel Jeeves. You can find all our links on our link tree on Instagram and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, releasing every Friday. You got us for the weekend.
Can we give them a tease what the next episode is, Dan?
I can. The next episode is a Timothy Chalamet actor special.
Brilliant. I just wanted to say.
Did you
that
forget? I nearly did.
I may have forgotten and I need to remind myself, but I just wanted to say that, and again, this is quite a heavy episode. So
Yeah.
next week will be something a lot more lighthearted. We
Yep.
just something a lot less scripted as well.
Yep.
Just us talking about Timmy C.
Timmy C.
Timmy Thick. Do you remember him? Talking about Timmy C and what we love about him.
Yes. Yeah. It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
It's our first actor special since the Florence Pugh one, which also was more of a relaxed kind of our favourites, which we ended up having to re-record, but we don't need to
Not
remember
anymore.
that. Not anymore. Yes, so that's it. Thank you, Ollie.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Pleasure as always. And yeah, we'll hear you. No. Oh, wow. I haven't fucked up in a long time.
We have a post credit scene that
Yeah.
we might play in just a second. So please continue listening if you've heard this sound off, because I think Charlie wants something that he wants to add on.
Yes.
But yeah, thank
If
you
not,
so much for
yes,
listening.
thank you for listening. And if not, bye-bye.
So that one, the one second one down. This one. Yeah. I just want you guys to listen to this.
I awake to a cacophony of notification sounds from the various social media platforms of which I am a member. Reddit reports the day's left-wing propaganda. Twitter, the rights. Tinder reminds me I have a date this Wednesday with a woman I have never met. OnlyFans alerts me to the fact that my subscription has run out, and Instagram informs me that Debbie Benson's dog has died. Good, I think to myself. I always hated that bitch. Debbie, I mean. The dog I was always ambivalent towards. Facebook doesn't notify me of anything because I deleted my account once the ratio of boomers on the platform reached critical mass. Not that I have a problem with boomers per se, it's just that I must be at least seen as hating them because generational tribalism is very much in vogue. After consuming 5 times the daily recommended intake of soy during my breakfast cereal, I make my way to the local Starbucks cafe for my daily caramel frappuccino. Once I reach the front of the unnecessarily long queue, I am served by a non-gender conforming staff member whose various anti-racism and anti-sexism iconography juxtapose nicely with her unbridled hatred of me for the color of my skin and the XY chromosome configuration of my DNA. I didn't realize blue whales could survive outside of water, I think to myself. I'll have my usual, I say in a tone so friendly that it borders on passive-aggressive. Oh, and I'll have it, skinny, I continue, making sure that I look her dead in the eye when I say the word skinny. After failing to jump on the property ladder at the age of 11, my only remaining hope of financial freedom is investing in various crypto schemes and NFTs. A moment of sheer panic as I realize my NFT portfolio has lost 99.7% of its worth in 2 days. Who would have thought that an asset with an infinite supply would lose value like that? To take my mind off of the day's financial losses, I play GTA 5 online with some of my fellow crypto entrepreneurs that I met in the Hustlers University Discord group. The dopamine release I get when I murder people virtually is only exceeded when I murder people non-virtually. After getting banned from the murder simulator for using too many bad words, I check my phone to see that the remaining 0.3% of my NFT portfolio's value has been decimated. I scroll through social media in bed before I sleep. The blue light ages my skin and interferes with my circadian rhythm, but the nihilism that I have internalized reminds me that nothing really matters anyway, thus allowing me to rationalize these objectively bad lifestyle choices. In those precious few moments between putting my phone down and falling asleep, I am finally left alone with my thoughts. Sometimes my mind will wander to the times before society became cringe. When people would hate each other based on their personalities, not their various tribal identities. When color-dyed hair indicated an interest in skateboarding, not a mental illness. And just as I begin to hope that this world may one day be possible again, I awake to a cacophony of notification sounds from the various social media platforms of which I am a member.
So yeah, that was just a video I found this morning while I was kind of browsing, doom scrolling shorts on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wait, so it's very odd that that's popped up on the day that we're doing this.
Oh, they're listening to everything, Dan.
I mean, yeah, he probably would have searched American Psycho at some point last night.
Do you think that that's something that because like you said, it's you didn't hear it was criminally accurate. Would you say that's something that if they did one for today, it would go down that line?
Yeah, if they were to modernize it, I would imagine that they'd end up saying similar things. It's interesting that I went on that little I hope it didn't come across as preachy, but that kind of little preachy thing before we finished the actual episode, where I was talking about how Patrick Bateman has sort of been co-opted by negative people. That little short that Charlie just showed us mentioned the Hustlers University, which is the online platform that Andrew Tate and his brother own and operate. So yeah, it's almost like the snake eating its own tail. But do you know what I am pleased about? When the video was on, for the first few seconds, I thought it was AI generated art. But at the bottom of each still, it had like a signature, which unless that's been forged.
Do you know what, some of the angles of the photos drawn there of him reminded me of the serial killer in Psycho.
Yeah, yeah,
giving that kind of feeling.
Yeah, but because the artwork was actually really cool, and I was like, that's really good. But then I was like, oh shit, it might be AI generated. But then I saw the signature at the bottom, and I was like, oh good, someone's drawn that.
Hopefully,
yeah, hopefully,
yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
little hidden section for everyone there. Instagram at Missing Scene Pod, X Missing Scene Pod. Listen to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music on Friday. Thank you, buddy.
All the best.
Bye bye.